This may sound odd for you just coming into the room, but do I have a motion to adjourn the,
Second.
all in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Hillary, you okay with the voice vote on that?
Yes, sir.
We closed another meeting. Okay, where are we? If you would, please follow along with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. Please join me in prayer. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for another beautiful day in the Ozarks. And this month of Thanksgiving, we just probably hit that theme this evening. I'm thankful for a board and for our staff, over 250 plus employees that make this city click on all cylinders right now, for the services that we provide to our residents, our businesses, and our visitors as well. Father, we bring you or ask you into this room tonight as we bring the agenda before you. Pray that the discussions will be healthy, as they'll be focused on our city mission and be honoring and glorifying to you. Father, we love you and praise you in Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Ted. Madam Clerk, we'll get a roll call, please.
Fenton.
Here.
Denham.
Here.
Cooper.
Here.
Milton.
Here.
Howden.
Here.
Rodriguez. LeBlanc. Here. Your Honor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. I'm going to start off tonight reading a proclamation. It was presented to the Oak Ridge Boys Theaters by Marshall and Clay Cooper, but I wanted to read this into public. Whereas it is recognized that the country and gospel quartet known as the Oak Ridge Boys, deriving their name from the town in East Tennessee where they originated, would go on to achieve national acclaim before ultimately ending up as a staple in Branson's performing industry. Long after many of the original Branson stars has passed on or found retirement suitable for the end of their careers, the Oak Ridge Boys have kept national attention on Branson with their annual performances. And whereas it is recognized that this iconic group was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 2015, after a long career spanning nearly 7 decades, which earned them 5 Grammy Awards, the CMA Vocal Group of the Year honor in 1978, and an induction into the Gospel Music Hall of Fame as well in 2000. And whereas the Country Music Songbook isn't complete without the smooth stylings of Elvira, Bobby Sue, and American Made. These legends are recognizable by name, works, and certainly appearance. And whereas we celebrate the legacy of the Oak Ridge Boys and their contributions to the culture of the American South and the Ozark Mountains alike. Now, therefore, I, Larry Milton, Mayor of the City of Branson, do hereby proclaim November 9th, 2023 as Oak Ridge Boys Day in Branson, Missouri.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I just want to say real quick, I thought about bringing the video in to show, but we basically read the proclamation on it. And so, but if anybody wants to see that, it's on Clay's Facebook page, it's on the Manson's Facebook page and mine as well. And the coolest thing about getting to do this is to see the pride swell on the faces of the people. And Clay was standing right there next to him when I was reading the thing, and he said, when you started reading their accolades, they started going, hey, I did do that, didn't I? You know, so it was really cool. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I think I said something to Dwayne about, this is like bigger than a CMA, and he goes, well, at this stage of my career, it is. And Dwayne texted me this morning. He said, Clay, it was great to see you. I really appreciate what you said before the mayor, before Marshall read the proclamation. Your words meant so much to me. I was not expecting that presentation, and after working in Branson since the 60s, that was very special. Thank you, my friend. So they were excited about it.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing that. Madam Clerk, we have public speakers tonight.
Yes, sir. We have 3 speakers.
So this is the public comment section of the Board of Aldermen meeting. At this time, the board will hear the citizens who have signed up in the order they are listed. Please note the clerk will let speakers know when they have 30 seconds left, and a notification will sound when their time is up. We ask that speakers wrap up their comments upon hearing the 30-second warning. If a speaker would like a board member to bring an item down from the consent agenda for additional discussion, please note this request during comments. You said we have how many?
3.
3, okay. You're on.
Okay, our first speaker is Deanna Slatton, speaking on unfinished business.
Hey, everyone. Basically, what I come here tonight for was to talk to you about the letters of intent, again, that we have asked for, and we've asked to sit down with you guys and do something. So I would like to be put on the agenda to show you the evidence and the things that we have that are not good. They're actually weapons on the people. Once again, I'm coming again to do this. And I've got some questions I need answered. Mayor Milton, were you provided any details on the frequency ranges that are currently being broadcast from the water towers? Did they ever give you that in the contract that was signed?
No.
Okay. Is there a procedure in place for frequency modifications for future uses? And is the city of Branson notified in advance of modification launches? That's to you, Kathy.
Kathy? Deanna, the protocol is you can ask any questions you want, and it's up to the board if they would like to address them.
Okay.
I will address.
Oh,
your
you will
question.
address that one?
Yeah, I'm going to
Okay.
say,
Okay. Is there a procedure in place for frequency modifications for future uses, and is the city of Branson notified in advance of those modifications?
not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Has safety regulations for humans monitored, enforced to operate on any safe ranges from these lease locations? Have any regulations been put up?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. How are FCC safety regulations for human monitoring enforced? Well, if we have none, we don't know that answer either. And are water samples currently being taken and monitored for particulates having radiation because of the 5G that's sitting on the water towers? And is it safe to drink for the people? Do you know the answer to that?
No.
Okay.
I know our water's safe. We all just went to the water treatment facility, was given a full-blown, everything they do that.
So do they test the particulates in the water, or are they testing the water itself? Because radiation, you can't detect it just in the water. It's the particulates in the water.
All I'm told is the water in Branson exceeds the federal requirements
Okay?
and state.
Okay. The reason we are wanting to have these meetings is because there needs to be an investigation done on these things where we find out the answers to all of this for the safety of the public. That's the main thing that we want to get done, to see that it's safe for the people. Another thing is, if you want to, you can file a Chapter 34, and the city is able to do all of this. So we can find out all of this information. So all you have to do is file Chapter 34, and we can get the answers to these questions for the people.
Deanna, I can tell you that what I do know to be factual is the amount of effort our city puts into assuring our water is not only safe, but the state of Missouri and the federal government tells Branson that our water exceeds what their requirements are.
Okay, and that, I would like to know what their requirements are. That, I'd like to have that answer too.
Okay.
Also, my family has been affected from these towers. I have 3 grandchildren now. 2 of them are 4, 1 of them are 3. The 4-year-olds have autism. The 3-year-old has mutated genes. We live close to a tower. And it's not the first person that's talked about this. I've got people in groups that I share information with, that they're finding out the same thing. They live by a tower, children are getting autism, and there's studies out that shows that these towers and these frequencies can cause autism. They can also kill at a certain degree of frequency. 60 gigahertz can pop the cells. Look, we've talked about this a bunch. For the last 2 years, we've talked about it, and we need answers. We need investigations done for the people to be safe.
So, Deanna, I'm not sure this line of questioning is really appropriate for this board. It sounds like,
We need an agenda. We need to sit down and talk about it,
let me finish if you don't
okay?
mind. It sounds like that your questions have more to do with the state level and the federal level, because we're bound to meet state and federal guidelines, which we do. It sounds like what you're addressing is maybe if there's issues out there, maybe the state needs to be aware of it and then provide us regulations. Or the federal government.
And that's why we need to sit down and talk to you guys, and one of y'all, whoever's the head of it, Kathy, whatever, needs to find these informations out for the people. We need to know this. We need to know that it's safe for the people. That's our main thing. That's why we come here week after week after week, because we want to sit down, we want to find out what's going on with this stuff, because it is hurting people. It literally is, and I've got study after study after study and patent after patent that I can sit down and show you. There is no studies that prove that it's safe. None. No studies.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So when we did the original fluoride discussion, we had doctors sort of on both sides of it. So I understand that there are doctors can be on different sides of an issue. The Board of Aldermen of Branson had a few years ago a doctor that sat on this board, Dr. Klontz. He addressed some of these issues, and I encourage the citizens of Branson to go back and review what he said about it, because after he had heard a few of these addresses, he went and researched it himself. His professional opinion is that the radiation in it is, I don't want to characterize it, but it's essentially not harmful and akin to what you would get standing in front of a microwave or something like that. So I would encourage the citizens to go back and listen to that.
Thank you, Marshall. Madam Clerk?
Our next speaker is Michael Isley, speaking on fluoridation.
Thank you all for what you're doing for our city. We do definitely appreciate it. And I don't know if the fluoridation issue's been resolved yet. Are you guys still going forward with it?
It's on the agenda tonight.
Okay, good. Okay. I know a little bit about it. I've done a lot of research on it. It's hexafluoroxylic acid. It comes from agrochemical. Basically, when they make the agrochemical fertilizers, it's the waste that comes through the chimneys. And it's what's really interesting about it is they don't talk about it a lot, but it also carries lead, arsenic, cadmium, all heavy metals that aren't good for the body. And so it's, I've done a lot of research on it. Unfortunately, I didn't bring my notes with me tonight, but I just really hope that you guys would consider it. I mean, I worked as an electrician in a water treatment plant for a short period of time, and I know how hazardous. I mean, basically, we had to go through an hour meeting before we were even allowed to even get into the building because of how toxic this stuff is. The acid, like you guys know, which you said in the last meeting, it eats through metal. I mean, it's not the same. We hear this thing, oh, it's just fluoride. It's a completely different type of fluoride. It's not naturally occurring. It's coming from, the chemicals that are made in the agrochemical plant. And so, I mean, if we're going to we already have 2 plants that already aren't doing it. Maybe we can just phase it out. It seems like a waste of money, for the taxpayers to put that in there. And I do know this, that most places that do end up getting rid of it have to pay a hazardous material company to get rid of it. So if that's the case, I mean, it can't be good for our water and for our citizens. I have a son that's has autism, and we don't do any fluoride, but we also don't give him a bunch of sugar. So if you're concerned with teeth, maybe do some lifestyle changes, If you want to use fluoride, that's totally up to you, but it shouldn't be something that has to, that all the citizens have to be a part of, let alone the fact when you take a shower, now you're breathing in fluoride gas, because of the steam. So I just wish you guys, to think about that and do a little research on it, because there is 2 sides, their side, and there's the other side, which is where it comes from. Just knowing where it comes from should make us wonder, you know?
Thank you,
Hey,
Michael.
thank you for your time.
Yeah. Madam Clerk?
Our final speaker is Bo Bandy, speaking on fluoride.
I'm sorry, what's your question? Okay, the protocol is if you want to sign up to be public speaking, there's a sign-up sheet and a sign outside the door that says you must sign up before 6 o'clock to be a public speaker. Thank you.
Hey, guys. Dr. Bo Bandy. I know most of you, and this is the fourth time I think I've been here. The wheels of government move slowly. So have you guys had a chance to look into fluoride? Have you even taken the time to do any research on it and see what it is and if it's even necessary at all?
Bo, this is on our agenda tonight, and I know
Okay.
the board has put in
Okay.
quite a bit of time.
Okay.
In fact, many of us went out to the water treatment facility, and we were shown firsthand
Mm-hmm.
what the process was. We listened to at least what our experts say. So we'll be addressing that this
Okay.
evening.
I was hoping to go on that tour of the water treatment plant with you, but apparently I wasn't allowed. It wasn't allowed for public to go to the public water supply and see it. So I thought that was kind of strange to get nixed on that one. But anyway, so fluoride is a neurotoxin. It is a byproduct of fertilizer production. And for some people, it is very harmful. Most people, we don't notice any side effects from it except for coloring of the teeth or pitting of the teeth. Sometimes, though, it can make the enamel so hard that it actually cracks, which is a big problem. It affects more poverty-stricken areas, obviously, because the way they eat and the foods that they can have are less nutritious and things like that. So lifestyle can kind of overcome some of the detriments of fluoride. But at the end of the day, it is, it's toxic. And it just makes common sense to me that you wouldn't want to put toxin in the water without giving people at least some say in it. If you're going to put fluoride in the water, the people need to be able to be given informed consent, which informed consent means that I hereby sign that it's okay to do this, even though I know all the potential risks. So if you're not giving the people who are having their water fluoridated at least some say in this, at least some kind of informed consent, then you're practicing medicine without a license. Because fluoride is a medicine. You have to have a prescription to get it outside of a dental office. So it's toxic, and it's expensive. $86,000 a year, I think, is what it costs the city, and that's just with one water district, I'm guessing, because there's 3 water districts. Am I correct in that?
Correct.
And 2 of them have already removed it. And then there's several cities around the area that have already removed it. I think Forsyth has removed it. Several cities I've overheard in the meetings. So it just makes sense to me that, you know, if you're not going to ask people what their say is, and if you're not going to give informed consent, then if one person in that district says they don't want it, then you have to take it out. That's just, this is still America, right?
It is still America, yes.
Okay. And I also heard you say something about, Mayor, we have to follow federal guidelines. Federal guidelines don't really mean as much to me as they used to. I don't know about you guys, but the last 3 years have shown me that the federal government doesn't really care about our health. So I would suggest maybe not leaning so heavily on what a government tells you is safe, because there's much more to it than that. And I think that's about all I got. So save some money, potentially quit harming people, and let's just be done with this fluoride thing. I'm tired of coming up here and talking about it.
Hey, Bo.
Thanks.
Hey, Bo. Hey, man, I just want to say really quickly, first off, I'm pretty much on your side on this. What I was told as to why citizens were excluded from the tour was safety reasons, and isn't that telling as to how safe versus unsafe this is? So,
Well,
Marshall,
I'm not above the public, but I have quite an education, and so I think maybe let's let this doctor come in here and see this thing. He's not just a normal citizen; he's actually trying to do stuff for the public. So, anyway,
Marshall, thank you, Doctor.
thank you.
I believe the reason was because our water and electric and some of our utilities now are sensitive to the safety issue. And we're trying to limit the number of people that can actually see how the process works. So if they had any ideas of how to cause harm, yeah, it wasn't because we have fluoride at our water plant. Thank you. Next is the consent agenda. Are there any items the board would like moved down from the consent agenda to ask additional questions or have comments? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please read the consent agenda?
Your Honor, the items on the consent agenda are as follows. Approval of the Board of Aldermen minutes for the October 24th, 2023 study session, October 24th, 2023 regular meeting, and October 26th, 2023 joint meeting. Final reading of Bill Number 6382, an ordinance amending Appendix A of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to utilities fee schedule. Final reading of Bill Number 6383, an ordinance approving amendments to the City of Branson's Human Resources Manual, Article 6, Section 4, pertaining to requirements for original employment and hiring of relatives. And final reading of Bill Number 6384, an ordinance amending the adopted fiscal year 2023 general fund budget for the City of Branson to adjust monies for additional expenses due to unforeseen mold remediation expenses and the remaining building maintenance requirements for 2023. Your Honor, that concludes the reading of the consent agenda.
Do I have a motion approving all the consent agenda items?
Second.
We have a motion second. Madam Clerk, you want a roll call vote?
Fenton?
Yes.
Denham?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Howden?
Yes.
Rodriguez? LeBlanc?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6385, an ordinance to authorize the mayor to execute a contract for economic development projects and use of the city's sales tax revenue and tourism tax revenue for such projects.
You've heard the first reading of Bill 6385. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
Second.
We have a motion second. We'll now get a staff report from Joe Lauber.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, good evening. As you know, I'm Joe Lauber with Lauber Municipal Law. In addition to our firm's role as the city attorney, since 2016, I have also represented the city of Branson as its special counsel for economic development matters. Before we begin with the item before you this evening, I'd like to give you a brief summary of what we'll be going over. First, you will hear from the city's representatives, myself. We do have one of the Colby from Baker Tilly will be standing by in case there are any questions regarding financial issues. And then once I have concluded my presentation to you from the city staff and consultants, we'll also be asking the applicant to introduce their proposal as well. It's been about 4 years since I was last before this board in this capacity, which was the approval of the aquarium TIF. The first bit of good news that I have for you this evening is that this request is extremely simple, especially when you compare it to other types of incentive applications that have come before the city in the past, which might include TIF or CID or TDD or whatever other alphabet soup that exists for the Missouri economic development incentives. This request is simply between the city and a potential developer. It involves a portion of potential city revenues that this project, if it's successful, is likely to produce. No other taxing jurisdictions are affected by this request. There's no specific statutory authority beyond the city's authority to enter into contracts that applies in this circumstance. And the city would only be required to provide a reimbursement if the project is built and if it performs successfully. So with that that introduction having been said, I'm going to go through a summary of the proposed plan for you. Make sure I remember how this thing works. Nope. Oh, I got to go that way, right?
Down, yeah.
All right, success. Okay, so just breaking the information down and having it here all just in one place for you. The name of the developments in this circumstance, this is actually kind of a twin development, if you will. There are two projects that make up this application. The first will be a Disney immersive experience, and the second is Mammoth Fieldhouse. And again, the applicants will come up and do a more detailed introduction of their projects for you in just a moment. But essentially, if you saw maybe in the past year, there was the Van Gogh exhibit in Kansas City at Union Station where they did the kind of immersive, where you can kind of get into the projection of the art. In this circumstance, that's what Disney Immersive is about. Mammoth Fieldhouse is somewhat similar to other it's golf and it's pickleball and some other entertainment venues. And again, the applicant will be going over that. So our proposed developer is Philcrest Properties. It's actually made up currently as the application is filed with Branson Mill LLC, bringing on the Disney portion, and Heartland Center LLC bringing on the Mammoth portion. There are 2 redevelopment projects. Those projects are essentially across the street from each other at 3300 Gretna Road and 3299 Gretna Road. So this is basically, it's in the Branson Meadows area. Gross total project costs, this is expected to be a nearly $47 million investment in the city of Branson. That would be broken up into, again, these 2 projects. So the Disney Immersive is expected to be about $5.8 million, and that's an infill development. So that is going to be making use of the vacant Big Air trampoline facility out there on Gretna Road. The Mammoth Fieldhouse is about $40.8 million investment, and it will be a ground-up build of the Mammoth facility that I mentioned. Total square footage, you're looking at the Disney Immersive being about just under 30,000 square feet, and the Mammoth Fieldhouse being about 42,000 square feet of entertainment. The project, if it were to go forward, it is projected to produce about $34 million in new sales tax and tourism tax revenues over 16 years to the city of Branson. So when you consider the ask of the applicant in this circumstance, the net benefit to the city, if this project can go forward, is a positive $23.7 million additional to the city's coffers over the next 16 years. So as that last fact kind of alluded, the applicant's incentives request in this circumstance is a $10.3 million total, and it is essentially, it's a sales tax reimbursement project. And so what that means is, to the extent that the project is successful and it creates revenue because they sell tickets and they sell food or, and whatever they would sell out there that sales tax would apply to the extent that that would be created, that money is collected by the venues, that gets sent to the Missouri Department of Revenue. They send that back to the city, and then the city would take the portions of it that are subject to the agreement and would reimburse that back to the developer. So again, only if it's successful does the city do a reimbursement. And again, that's 10.3. It's about $2 million being produced from the Disney Immersive, and about 8.3 for Mammoth Fieldhouse on the reimbursement. The approximate completion dates for the project are May of 2024 for completion of the Disney Immersive, and then about June of 2026 for the Mammoth Fieldhouse project. So I'm going to show just a couple quick renderings, maybe. There we go. This is, and again, the applicants will have more details on this, but this is kind of the concept for Disney Immersive. Couple of images there. Mammoth Fieldhouse is kind of a look at the venue in that circumstance. So then breaking down again on the proposed financing. This is a pay-as-you-go project. Another way to put that is the developer is completely at risk. They're not asking for money up front. They would have to come up with the private financing, whatever their equity, their debt that they would put in to actually build these projects, and they would have to perform before the incentives would even exist to be provided. The public incentive component is city sales and tourism tax reimbursement only for what is produced on this site, again, assuming that this project is built. So it's this site specific, and it's only portions of the city's sales tax and portion of the city tourism tax that would be reimbursed if it's created. In addition to so essentially because there's no plan, like you would have with a TIF plan, has this whole process that we have to go through in order to get those approved. Here, as I mentioned from the outset, it's very simple. We just have a redevelopment agreement where, the parties get together. The applicant in this case is saying, we will build these things, we will do, these things, for the city, and in return, we would like to, to have the reimbursement. So, in the end, the agreement is the incentives proposal. So just a couple highlights here for the agreement that is before you this evening. The developer's obligations are obviously to build and operate the development projects as proposed. We put terms in there that would basically say, look, you guys came in, you're promising, certain square footages, you're promising, these will, these are the types of projects that we will get. And, if that doesn't come to fruition, then you don't have to do a reimbursement on that. They need to report taxes that are remitted to the Department of Revenue, so we can be tracking that before they come back from the Department of Revenue as a city. And then they need to provide to the city the number of visitors and distance traveled to the city so that we have data that we can run back through our tourism numbers from that standpoint. So what are the city's obligations under the contract? Again, at a high level, it'll be the city's responsibility to administer the sales and tourism tax revenues received from the Department of Revenue. The city, commonly, we do have taxes out there. We do get, returns from Department of Revenue. We'll have to, it will be city staff that will be responsible for keeping track of this particular project and making sure that, the terms of the agreement are followed and that, we're correctly getting any reimbursement that would be created back from that. Obviously, the big piece of this is we would be reimbursing the developer for up to $10.3 million or up to 16 years. So again, the way we've set this up is even if the project was built and it didn't perform to standards, the reimbursement would cut off after 16 years. That's a hard stop on the reimbursement. And the flip side of that is if it outperforms the projections and they get to $10.3 million sooner than 16 years, then the reimbursement would cut off at the time that the 10.3 would be fully reimbursed. So I think hopefully, yeah. So that is what I have for my presentation. So Mayor, if I may, I'll turn it over to the applicant to provide a little additional information regarding their project.
Sure, thank you. Oh, facing the camera? Yeah, why don't you face them?
While Grant's doing that. Good evening, Mayor and Board of Aldermen. I'm Rob Phillips, Fieldcrest Properties. I'm president of Fieldcrest out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. I began investing in Branson about 20 years ago when I bought the 150-acre development called Branson Meadows from the Motley family, one of the original families, I think, in Branson, and great people, Mr. Marvin Motley's, who we worked with to buy that. But long and the short of it is I built the Branson Mill. We originally had, the Craft Mall in the back, Mountain Man out front, all that stuff. So we're doing very well now. We're back full again, and we've had the big area in there for a while. But we ran across an interesting opportunity about a year and a half ago, which was the Disney immersive experience. And so we've been working on that now for about a year, as you all know. But before I dive into that, I just wanted to basically introduce myself as the developer of Fieldcrest, like I said. Wanted to tell you about Mammoth Sports. Great group, huge sports facility construction, one of the biggest construction companies in the U.S. that builds all the NFL stadiums, builds the turf everywhere. I ran across them when I built the $35 million sports complex in Springfield last year, and Springfield, Missouri. And so we used them on a number of the things in that project, became familiar. We started talking about other projects, and he informed me of a really neat project they were doing, basically combining 3 into 1, similar to a Topgolf, a chicken and pickle or a pickleball, and Tiger Woods' pop stroke, putt-putt. In any event, they've formulated this, and they have multiple ones under construction now, and this is going to be quite a thing. Let me introduce Troy of Mammoth. Troy's going to tell you all about their project. I'm going to get back up after him and finish with Disney, and then we'll answer any questions anybody has.
Thank you, Rob. Should probably have you follow us around everywhere we go. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board of Aldermen. It's awesome to be in front of you. If you'll humor me for just 1 second, I want to tell you what Branson means to me personally, and that is pinnacle. Pinnacle is the most successful point. That's in the dictionary. And about 23 years ago to the month, I learned about Branson. It was in my freshman year of college basketball, my fall camp. The very first day of fall camp, before we had to run 30 lines up and down the court, my coach said to me, "We're going to Branson. We're getting to Branson. We're going to get to this NAIA national championship." And it's been ingrained in my head ever since. So whenever I think of Branson, I think of Pinnacle. So, lucky enough, we did obtain the goal of making it to the national championship twice. And it was easy to see upon arriving, going over the beautiful hills and entering into Branson, how many unique experiences there are in this community. And we're up here today just super excited because our venue is definitely going to enhance the experiences, and it certainly sets itself apart of being another unique experience that you have. And it's also easy to see why for 50 years, Mammoth employees and their families have been vacationing here, and we're super excited to call this our second home. When I speak of unique experiences, Rob touched on the Topgolf-like structure we have. Entertainment golf. It speaks for itself. It's super popular. There's a shortage of entertainment golf venues in this country, and we're looking to alleviate that issue. The other thing is pickleball, fastest growing sport in North America. It can be played by all ages, just like entertainment golf. If you can advance the golf ball in entertainment golf, you're going to score points. I play golf. My daughter does not play golf, and I cannot beat her in some of these games. There's a lasting appeal that makes us as a family want to keep coming back to these venues over and over and over again. And then, as Rob mentioned, we are going to have a pure putt-like design in our venue. And to get specific with it, you guys have heard of Pop Stroke, Tiger Woods' venture, and we have enabled his designer to work on the design of our facility as well. All that being said, we are just super excited. We appreciate your time. I'm excited to be here. And again, anytime I can get to Branson, it just brings back these memories that I've had for 23 years. And it's just, I can't wait to get back. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to the Disney Experience guys.
Thank you, Troy.
Thank you.
Chad?
You hit down to. Yeah, just hit the down button. Got it. There you go.
First time. This is the Mammoth Fieldhouse. Here we go.
Did you guys want to see any of these slides on there? Thought it might just breeze through this.
Yeah, these are all renderings of Mammoth as well. We've got renderings of the Disney Experience as well. Okay.
So, long and the short, guys.
Sir, can you speak into the microphone for us because we're streaming? Sorry
Trying to
about that.
look and speak at the same time. This is a artist rendering of what we envision for the Mammoth Fieldhouse on the 9 acres across from the current Branson mill. This will it's not let me go further. It's not letting me go forward.
Chad?
There we go.
Is there a specific slide you're looking for? Or is there something?
If you just want to go to the overall rendering of it. There we go. Hey. So I failed to mention, I was part of the leadership group at my last employer that was lucky enough to open a venue similar to this. And so I got to see firsthand the user group that is intrigued by venues similar to this. I saw families. I saw groups of women at a bachelorette party just looking to let loose and have some fun. Sorry about that, Clay. Let me move that. I got to see you. But the most unique thing that I touched on earlier was all levels of ability are more than welcome at a venue like this, and they can find lasting appeal in these venues. There is a situation where at our venue, one of our most loyal users was in a wheelchair, and this gentleman was happy as a clam when he was able to hit. Because, like I said, as long as you can advance the golf ball, depending on the games, these games are structured to where there's a lot of skill involved in some of them, but most of the games there's a lot of luck involved. So when a gentleman like that with one hand can just advance the ball and rack up points and beat his buddies that are fully capable of making a full swing, it just kind of warms your heart a little bit, and it's good to see a guy like that win. So yeah, as Rob was talking about, this is kind of a gathering area here at the field house. This is where, if you're not partaking in one of the 3 events, this is just a place where you can just talk shop with your group. You can have meetings here. It's just a great place to get away. And then if you just want to go to the overall, there we go, down. There we go. So that gives you a good idea of the atmosphere, and you park your vehicle and you got a lot of stuff to do.
And I might add that you can see on this far right side, the Branson Mill across Gretna Road. This is the exact location that we're planning on putting Mammoth Golf right here, correct.
Yeah, so
That's the mill, yes, sir.
Yeah.
So it's literally right across the street on about a 9-acre piece of dirt. So I wanted to wrap up a little bit and tell you about this Disney immersive project. The Van Gogh immersive, I don't know if any of you all have seen that, but there have been, I believe it's 1 out of 90 U.S. citizens have seen that exhibit. It's just been enormously successful over the last several years. This group, I think it's important that we touch on my partnership with Lighthouse Immersive in this, because this is a very, very specific structured field. Lighthouse out of Toronto, Canada, were the original companies that really started marketing the Van Gogh Immersive. There was nothing exclusive about it. This is exclusive. Disney will be an exclusive representation from us. We're not going to see more of this in Branson. We're not going to see more of it within a specific area around here. So I think it's very important that we understand that this is Lighthouse Immersive, that it is our partner that is now doing this worldwide. They're already into China, Japan, Australia, and they've been doing this for a long time. And so this isn't a new venture. We're going to try to figure this thing out. So this is a lot of work, a lot of study, and they've really got a powerful group behind them that knows what they're doing in this stuff. Like I said, the Disney experience is about a $6 million infill of what now the Branson Mill, the Big Air trampoline park that I currently own as well, that I put in there about 3 or 4 years ago. So this will replace that venue, but the volume of dollars that we have, sales, comps, all of their other locations around the country, and not to mention a third-party study on this to verify these numbers, not to mention Baker Tilly as well. you know, the numbers are far, far greater on this. Obviously, that's what's enticed us to spend this kind of money, again, into the same development that we've already got an operating business in. So the long and the short of it is we believe in it. We're going to spend the money. We're here for the long run. Like I said, I've already been here 20 years. I'm not going anywhere. I got 100 acres around this still. So there's another factor right there. We believe both of these projects will spur future development, future tax dollars, future economic incentive, bringing other, tourists to this area as well. One of the things, Branson Meadows, when I bought it, Hills wasn't there. The landing wasn't there. So this is how long this has been. We've been jumped over for some reason on Branson Meadows, and I believe we've got the best development with roads, all city utilities to every site in there. New development will come if we have a catalyst. We have a catalyst. And we're looking forward to, showing Branson, the city of Branson, and all the tourism, what we can do here, because we really believe in this, and we can make this happen. We've got the right team. We've got the right economic money behind us. I think it's the right time, with the economy. We're going to have an election in a couple of years, and we're going to see rates go down. We want to be built when that happens. We don't want to be starting. So I've missed a couple opportunities in Branson over the years for floods and, tornadoes or what have you. But we really believe this is our time, and we hope you will agree with us. Great. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Rob. Joe, did you have anything? No. Is there any questions or comments from anybody in the audience? Question? Yes, come on up.
Right behind the Branson Meadows. So you guys are proposing to change the Big Air? Is that what's the Big Air? Change the Big Air venue to a Disney immersive attraction. Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience have any questions?
Where's the other one? The other one's being built.
If you look up there, you see the Branson Mill on the far right.
Okay.
Let me take care of
Oh,
this.
so it's on the other side of the
Rob.
street. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rob, just so others can hear that are listening in, I got this is the Branson Mill project. This is Gretna. And then this is the proposed development, the Mammoth development.
Yeah,
Disney's going in this area,
that's correct.
right across the street.
Any other questions?
That's my department.
I'm taking over.
Gary?
This seems really, really exciting. I mean, I'm really excited about it. It seems real good. The only question I have, it's a no-brainer as far as finances go. They've got all the risk. The only question I have is, there was on one of the slides, it said that we would feature these developments in all our Branson marketing. But when I look at a 60-second spot or a 30-second spot or a printed piece of material, how is that going to impact our other businesses? How is that going to be controlled? So that, example, we don't shortchange our shows or other attractions. How will that be apportioned?
Yeah, I know Joe was involved with the conversation. Gary, Joe, would you answer this question? Would you repeat that, Gary? Did you hear the question?
I was afraid you're going to ask
Gary's
that.
saying is in the contract, it says.
On one of the slides, it said that these developments will be featured in Branson's marketing. Well, when you look at a piece of marketing, you got a 60-second spot, a 30-second spot, a printed piece of this. How are we going to apportion that so that it is fair to our shows and existing attractions? I mean, I love the project, but.
Thank you, Gary.
Mr. Mayor and Board, so the reason for that is the tourism tax does need to be put towards tourism, and we do believe that attracting new businesses that would bring individuals to the city would account for that tourism, but also to shore up our responsibilities to using correctly the tourism tax dollars is that we would use some of the revenue that is created from this project to use it towards some promotion of this project to work to bring more people to Branson that weren't already coming here.
Okay, that's going to take some clarity. Right now, we have tourism tax dollars that are collected for marketing, and we have TCED tax dollars that are collected towards marketing. Are you saying that out of those two buckets of money, that this project is, we're committing marketing dollars from these two buckets for this development?
Just the city's tourism tax and just the portion that is the tourism, not the infrastructure.
But I thought the 25% tourism was part of the reimbursement, the marketing portion.
Yes.
Mayor, may I?
Please.
Joe, am I correct that we wanted to just have clarity? My understanding of that provision was that we had the permission of the operators of these entities to be able to use them in our marketing and promotion for the city of Branson.
Sure.
Wasn't that the intention of it?
Yes.
So it's just a clear understanding that, you know, we get to use them on, say, the 60-second or 30-second commercials that Gary had brought up, that we, just like we do with the Ferris wheel or we do with shows, and we can use them as, you know, cutaway shots, et cetera, to help promote the city of Branson. So it's their allowing us that opportunity to do so.
With 100% out of the money that is reimbursable.
I'm sorry?
The 25% marketing dollars that comes out of the tourism tax, that 25% is being used as a reimbursable. Is that, because there's only 25%. So if the full 25% is reimbursable, what dollars are being used to market this project?
We're not marketing this project per se, so it's not like we're becoming a marketing arm for these private businesses. We just wanted to make sure that they understood by us giving them that back as part of the incentive package, that they would give us permission to be able to tout these projects in our marketing efforts on behalf of the city to bring more people to Branson. That's all it was a clarification for that.
Can I ask, you said get to market it, and Gary's words were required, I think.
Right.
So
It's not
what's-
about requiring. It's about having the, right, Joe? I mean, I think I'm saying this correctly. If I'm not, you can, it's okay to correct me. But we just wanted to make it clear that, look, this is we believe that this project is going to bring more people to Branson. And as such, we're willing to reimburse that 25% of our tourism tax, the city tourism tax, that we would usually use to market the city, which, by the way, we're not getting now on the proposed Mammoth project. There is no tax dollars coming in. So what we wanted to do is make sure that they understood that we believe in their project and we think it's going to bring more people to Branson. As such, we want to use their, like, pictures of their facility in our efforts to be able to market Branson. That's all we were trying to clarify there. So we're not committing any dollars. We're not committing so many seconds in a commercial. There's no commitments on the part of the city to market their project at all.
Okay, so just so we're clear, Chad, can you or Joe put that slide back up that Gary's referring to?
I'm not sure where that's at, Mayor. Can anybody give me some direction on where to find that?
What is referring to was something in my slide deck, and it may have just been a mischaracterization. It was my words to summarize to try to get to the high points of the agreement, so.
Is it on this slide, Joe? Can you see it?
Probably the last slide then. Yeah. I mean, in the end, the idea again is to utilize this business like we would other businesses, as Ms. Stepp described. You know, I can stand in Kansas City, you know, any given day and see a Branson commercial, and I recognize businesses that I know are up and operating here. This would be another one that would be potentially used in that way.
So when you say potentially, Is it potentially that if the city of Branson, or excuse me, our CVB thinks it's good marketing to include this, it's their choice, but not an obligation?
Correct.
You okay with that, Gary?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's just, it's an overstatement of, yes, it says city obligations, right? But
Okay.
it's just a part of the program.
Okay.
It wasn't, this is not the words.
Just want to make sure
this
you're
is
not
just
trying
a
to sneak something
summarization.
through here.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, no, I appreciate the question because, and I understand the question. If we're obligated to do that, who's being removed?
That's right. No,
Yeah.
for sure. For sure. You're up.
May I clarify this? I think, real simply, I think to Kathy's point, all we're merely doing is giving you the authority to take a picture of ours and use it on
The
any of your
authorization.
commercials if you want. We're not requiring it. You're
That's
not
fine.
obligated, but we won't sue you if you put it on TV. And I think that's all we've said.
Thank you, Rob. Any other questions from anybody in the audience? Come on up. You've been awfully quiet lately.
My name is Marie Copeland. Could you put that slide up there that showed where the Disney place is going to be? I have a question
The site
about
map?
that slide. It was the white building
Yeah.
that was over there?
Yep. Here you go.
Okay. You've got a long white area there that
This
you're
one?
talking about. Yes.
Yes.
No, the other side. That's the street. That one.
This is
I
the,
want to know what you're doing with Billy Gales.
ooh. Rob?
Thank you, thank you. Billy Gales is going nowhere, and nor will they. They're,
Billy Gales is right here.
yeah, so they're in the front.
Oh, right here, I'm sorry.
It's where the trampoline park is in the rear that the Disney would replace.
Yeah. We ate there Saturday. If they only made larger pancakes. Ralph, you have something?
I had the pancakes Monday.
Not exactly what I meant, but does anybody else in the audience have any questions? Questions from the board? Marshall?
This might be for Joe. Joe, on this 10.3 million, up to 10.3 million reimbursement, we're characterizing that as if they're successful up to that point, then they can get, but it accrues, right? I mean, so in other words, if they only would equal to half of that, we would be on the hook for half of that.
Correct, yes. It's not like we wait to the end of the 16th year and then pay it. It is as soon, and similar to other types of incentive programs, that once it starts generating revenues, then that stream of revenues is then utilized to do the reimbursement. So yes, it would start, really right away once the Disney immersive project, which is, intended to be the one that would open first, that would start as soon as that's producing revenues.
Yep.
And keep in mind, there are many other taxes that the city imposes that will be coming to the city, like there are, capital improvement taxes and other, transportation taxes, things like that are being produced by this project as well. We're not talking about those. It's just the city general and that portion of the tourism.
And I'd like to make two comments. When this project was first introduced, what I really liked about it is cities at no risk and the developers asking to be reimbursed from the success of their product only versus TIFs and SIDS and others. They asked to get reimbursed because they're going to bring in more people that stay in motels, so they want a piece of that. People eat in restaurants, they want a piece of that. People go shopping. So this is a self-contained project. And I will say, I'm looking at my city administrator, Clay Cooper brought up a very good point, and I want to tell our community that after the holidays, we get into January, February, we're going to be bringing a proposal similar to this for all the businesses that are currently in Branson. We need to set up some guardrails and some guidelines, but we want to provide the same incentive if you currently own a business in Branson and you want to expand. We're going to provide a similar benefit on the incremental difference that your tax, that you bring in incremental increase of what you're currently doing, you will also participate in a similar reimbursement program, which I am very excited about. Yeah. Okay, any other questions, comments from the board? Ruth?
For the developer, can these two projects be separated? And if not, the reasons why?
That's a great question. Different partnerships. First of all, the Branson Mill has a different partner involved in that won't be involved in it, that be purchased out, and the long and the short of it. Mammoth will have a different partnership across the street. I currently own the land where Mammoth will go. I'll put the land in. I'll be involved as a partnership in that as well, and from a financial capacity as well. So that's really the reasoning. It's not the same partnership. It's not the same people in both entities.
So could there actually be two contracts, one for each? The reason I'm asking is I'm not a real big proponent on just spending taxpayer dollars. So for economic development, I think that we need to look really deep into the projects and see if it's a fit for Branson. Economic development, yes, the dollars they bring is very, very important to our community. However, I believe that we also need to look at the fit as well. And I'm very supportive of the golf project. I think that's an amazing project. It's something that really fits into this area. The Disney project, there's a different flavor to that. So that's why I was wondering if they could be separate, because I'm extremely supportive of the golf project, but not the Disney project as far as it fitting into this conservative area.
I believe we structured this, I believe, in the way that benefited the city the most with a payback. So in other words, if you separated these things off, quite frankly, the Disney generates a lot more tax than the Mammoth initially. Of course, Mammoth won't even be contributing to this until they're open. So Disney would be contributing immediately once it's opened. Mammoth would be coming on 2 years from now when that's up, obviously when they open. But you made a comment that I think it's very important that we clarify. You're not spending any tax dollars, zero. If I don't generate $1, you're not paying me anything. You're not spending any other tax dollars. So I have to bring $1 in for me to get paid. If I don't do my work, you owe me nothing.
Yeah, Rob.
So you're zero risk.
I don't think her question has to do with the economics. I think it has to do with, she's very supportive of Mammoth development. Not as excited about the Disney
Gotcha.
component.
Well, I believe the way you asked why it wasn't separated, and I believe that's the reason, though.
Sure.
So, and that was my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to, did you have something?
Yeah, I had a question. He had mentioned that you built the, what's it called, Allison, up in Springfield?
Yes, sir. The Allison Sports Town?
Yeah. What tax incentives and/or reimbursements did the city of Springfield?
We did a whole different deal. It was TIFs, it was SIDs. It wasn't so much sales tax, but of course the SID offsets the sales tax anyway. But they were more TIF, SID oriented. Well, number one, because there's no sales tax on a sports arena. Food, but that's the only thing we can tax is the concession stand. Where these two venues are completely different as far as generating sales tax. that entity doesn't really, it was more of an economic service for the community, that they didn't have that many, or that kind of arena with that many turf fields to attract the regional conferences, more so than it was. So it's really an apples and oranges, Mr. Cooper, in that regard, as far as, one generated sales tax and one didn't. That's why they had to do the TIF and the SID.
That was on a TIF?
Yes, sir.
Right up there.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
I,
I have a question for you. You've already pretty much analyzed Rob, yeah, for you. You've already pretty much analyzed significantly like the increase that you're going to have based on the new venue as opposed to the trampoline park. I would almost venture to say that it's exponentially more lucrative of an investment from the standpoint of tax revenue generating or even income generating. You guys have looked at all that?
Oh, yes, sir. First of all, we did a third-party study. Whenever I do any of these projects in any municipality, not only for my benefit, because this is large investment from me, but for the city as well. The first thing we're going to do is a third-party study. Show me, is there a demand for this, number one? And what pricing? What's the demographic? Will it support it? All of these things. So we've actually taken this all the way down to the, basically, the spreadsheet we have in front of us will show us new money coming in. And I think that's what you all are really looking for.
yeah.
What can we bring that why would they come, but they're not coming now? We have to, I've said for a long time, Branson needed to lower its demographic age. When I built the Branson Mill 20 years ago, I built bus parking for 50 bus parks. We used to see up to 50 a day. When we had to shut it down, of course, with Amazon, you have to consistently change with technology. But to answer your question, yes, sir, we've got it down, and we've done multiple third-party studies and we've provided, so.
And Ralph, when they first came to the table, they had a feasibility study done at their expense. And as we got closer and closer, we had Rob's firm also paid the city $25,000 to reimburse the city for our legal expense to review this and for our finance expense to review this. Baker Tilly's division that did the review, they have had many transactions with the same feasibility study. They said the company they chose just really highly ranked. And, but then, again, they paid Baker Tilly to review all this information also.
Yeah, the feasibility study, I believe, is the same one that the aquarium used.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. I'm going to take a 7-minute break. And you can too.
Take one? Okay.
Call the meeting back to order. Any other questions, comments from anybody on the board? Hearing none, is this a roll call vote?
No, sir.
Voice vote. So let's vote.
So before we vote, I'm going to abstain from the vote due to my representation of a client as an attorney privately. So I will be abstaining from this vote.
Thank you, Cody. So let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Did you say roll call?
I did not, but we can do one if you would rather.
Let's do roll call.
Okay. Benton is an abstain.
Abstain.
Denham?
No.
Cooper?
No.
Howden?
Yes.
Rodriguez? And LeBlanc.
Yes.
So the result of the vote is 1 abstain, Fenton, 2 noes, that would be Denham and Cooper, and 3 yeses, Howden, Rodriguez, and LeBlanc, so that motion carries.
Thank you. Next item.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill number 6386, an ordinance approving a sewer service connection agreement for property owned by the Embers Branson LLC located at 139 Irish Lane in Branson and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
You've heard the first reading of Bill number 6386. Do I have a motion approving this bill? We have a motion and a second. Get a staff report from Kendall.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. This ordinance approves the sewer connection agreement for the connection of utilities outside the city limits between the city of Branson and the Embers Branson LLC. So we have an exhibit before you tonight as well. The property is located at 139 Irish Lane. You'll see it highlighted in the green color, the polygon. Just to the east of that property would be Point Royale itself, and then to the north would be Taper Rock Village, and to the southwest would be the Shepherd of the Hills Fish Hatchery. As you can see, the lightly gray colored all the way around the east side of the property and south side, and the north is city limits of Branson. The dam site subdivision just to the west is outside the city limits as well as this property. The Embers Branson LLC, located again at 139 Irish Lane, has proposed a sewer connection to the Branson public sewer system for a campground development. The property originally was developed as a campground. However, the existing structures were demolished. The owner desires to build new facilities and structures not originally established when the public sewer system was built by the county sewer district. The new development will include an office, a bathhouse, RV campsites, tent platforms, built tents, and arched cabins. The connection agreement requires the new development to install the privately owned sewer system to meet the specifications listed in the Branson Municipal Code for sewer services. And the existing public sewer system has adequate capacity to serve the proposed development. Staff recommends approval of this agreement. Happy to answer any questions.
Do you have something, Holly?
Yes, I just want to point out that the option in the intergovernmental agreement for sewer connection does give the option for the city to require future annexation, and that is not part of this agreement.
Any questions, comments from the audience? Questions, comments from the board? Ruth?
With the comment that Holly just made, is this a property that we want to include the annexation information with in the contract?
With the annexation, we currently don't really have an annexation policy, so that's something that probably needs to be developed. But with the annexation comes all of the requirements which would be required should they build in the city. And those are pretty extensive for a campground and for this work that is being done. You can only require the annexation if it's an expansion of the prior existence, and this is an expansion. They've already torn down the store. They're replacing it with a larger store and larger shower capacity, as well as additional campground and RV parking areas.
Okay, I guess my question would be a concern for the city, if we had them do the annexation too, and then they're required to build to city standards, wouldn't that be the best choice for this property, or am I not understanding?
Mayor, the constituent is here, if you wanted to give him the opportunity to.
You bet.
Come on up.
Hello
Hi.
again. I was here a couple of weeks ago to talk about this exact issue, and I understand the point that you're bringing up about all of the building codes and the process and what possibly should have happened here on this site. And had I known that tearing down the buildings would have kind of alleviated my opportunity to use the sewer and the facilities that were there and put me into this predicament where I'm here talking to you about, hoping that I can just hook up to a sewer line that was put here for the previous owner to hook up their campground, I wouldn't have torn down those buildings. The original plan was to reuse the existing shower house that was there, the existing foundation for the camp store that the original Girth family was going to put up there. After we had our engineering review, we had core samples done on that foundation up front, and it was found that it wasn't built well enough. And I see that that's a concern now. I guess what I could say is we're not skirting any well-built facility. We've got amazing contractors. I've got my construction partner, who unfortunately wasn't able to be here this evening, who's got 40 years experience as a general contractor. We're using the same folks that work on Johnny Morris's stuff. I mean, so the intent is not to skirt any of the building codes. The predicament I'm in at this point is the information was provided to me so late in the process that I don't have the time or finances to go back and do the things that the Branson Municipal Code requires at this point, because we are already through the process with the county, which is where I was told we were supposed to get our permitting from. So we've already gotten all of our permitting through the county, through Western Taney Fire District. We've had reviews with them. I've sat in front of their board to get special use permits for the glamping tents, because those are nightly rental. So we had to, go through that process and ensure all that was accurate and correct. I guess at this point, all I'm saying is we're building a very high quality facility, and it's the time issue now that we already have our plans, we already have our crews ready to work. And if we were to go with the annexation process and the additional approval process, that's going to add months to our timeline, and we will miss opening this spring, and it will completely ruin the project.
Mayor, if I may?
You bet.
I might be able to provide a little bit more context. Thank you, Ryan, for being here tonight. It's good to see you. We had a lot of internal conversations about this with all the affected departments, and there's enough gray area based on my conclusion of the input that I gathered from our teams to be able to sprinkle in a little common sense on this particular project. It's a campground, so it's not like we're building a subdivision of homes or, permanent housing, that type of a thing. What he's trying to do with this property is dramatically improve it, offer a great opportunity for tourists and for residents, right, if they want to camp out, and not have to be bound by they are many times burdensome city codes. And so we thought with this type of a project and the process and all of the routes that he's had to run to be able to get here to this point with his project, we felt that this was a sufficient compromise, which is to make sure that he meets the requirements for our sewer and water facilities and pays the connection fees, just like he would normally do, but to require him, for example, to pave the entire lot of a campground. There was a lot of things he brought to my attention that we were looking for. I don't remember if it was curb or gutters or whatever. I don't remember exactly all the particulars. But this is just one of those opportunities after conferring with legal counsel that I felt, we can all see both sides of this, and we felt we would rather err on the side of being easier to do business in Branson, and is still, of course, making sure that we protect public safety and health. So we think this was a good compromise, and we hope you support that.
Okay.
Thank you for saying that, because I would like to I guess my comment was, how can we make it work and help this guy? So I'll follow your lead, because I think we should do what's right and give this guy an opportunity to have a successful business, right?
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you for that, Kathy. Then it's time to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Mr. Mayor, I think we're asking for a double read on this as well, if possible. Ryan is up against some time constraints, like he had mentioned a little bit in his statement there, that he's trying to get under construction so he can be open by spring. So we felt it was important to bring it to you as a double read.
Let's see if we can make that happen.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6386 for its final reading due to time.
We have a motion and a second. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak to this? Any questions, comments from the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Congratulations. Oh, up. We just got permission to have a second read. Now we're going to vote on a second read.
Let's
Madam
put it,
Clerk?
yep, okay. Your Honor, this is a final reading of Bill number 6386, an ordinance approving a sewer service connection agreement for property owned by the Embers Branson LLC located at 139 Irish Lane in Branson, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
Any questions, comments from the,
Let's get a motion and second first.
I stopped reading. Okay, we have motion and a second. Same staff report, same questions, same answers. Anybody in the audience have same questions? The board have the same questions? Any new questions from the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor?
Let's do a roll call on this one, because it's final reading, just for fun.
I quit reading again.
Yeah, I know.
Cody, I'm counting on you to,
Fenton.
Yes.
Denham.
Yes.
Cooper.
Yes.
Howden.
Yes.
Rodriguez. LeBlanc. The result of the vote is 6-0. Motion carries.
now, congratulations.
Thank you.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill number 6387, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 1992-0001 and amending section 90-43 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to the introduction of fluoride into public water system.
You've heard the first reading of Bill 6387. A motion approving this bill.
Second.
A motion second. Staff report from Kendall, please.
Good evening again. The Board of Aldermen passed ordinance number 1992-0001 on January 14th of 1992, authorizing and directing the introduction of fluoride into the public water supply system of the city of Branson. Over recent years, there have been concerns presented by the public in regards to fluoridation of the water system. The Board of Aldermen have heard from experts on both sides of the issue regarding whether to keep or remove water fluoridation during a designated study session, and requested staff to bring the topic before the board as a vote. Staff conducted the State of Missouri mandatory public comment period, which began on July 28th of 2023, allowing the public to submit comments in favor of or against fluoridation. During the 90-day period, public comments were obtained through our website, where members of the public could submit an email expressing their comments on fluoride. A total of 69 emails received. 11 were pro fluoride, 55 were against fluoride, and 3 did not take a stance, but rather asked questions. Staff recommends to amend the municipal code, section 90-43, to cease fluoridation due to risks associated with material handling and future equipment replacement costs. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Kendall. Is there any questions, comments from the audience? Questions, comments from the board? Marshall?
Well, I just found out something interesting, Mr. Mayor. I moved here when I was 3 months old in January of 1992. So I say that in jest. That was when this was put in. So I say that in jest, but I take this pretty seriously. I obviously have shared my opinions on this. I even became more firm when we toured the facility. When we asked the individuals who administer this how they felt about it, it kind of got a little heavy, to be honest with you, Mr. Mayor. And they said things like, we want to take the proper precautions to make sure that we go home to our families, you know, and that really stuck with me. Part of what I heard earlier, I believe I heard the same thing when we took that tour, which is essentially this is not the element, but a byproduct of the pharmaceutical companies. I cite a lot of the European countries that have removed this from their water systems. I look at other communities around the country that have done so, as well as the water districts that surround Branson. For those reasons, I will be voting for this.
Anybody else?
I too took the tour, which it was very enlightening, and to see what these guys do day in and out, and the whole process of the water, and just everything that was really super cool. I think I've said from day one that it doesn't really matter to me if there's fluoride in it or not. I've been drinking it my whole life, and I haven't turned green or broke out into warts or anything yet. So, but I asked the three gentlemen, the workers that day, I said, okay, here, you know what we're up against. If you three were sitting in my chair, how would you vote? And immediately all three said, remove it, because of the dangers of working with it. And so I'll be voting to remove it as well, based purely because of that. Everybody's got their own reasons. I'm not concerned about drinking it. I'll drink it. It doesn't bother me one way or the other. But I'll be voting no, just based off of what the gentleman at the plant said, and the dangers of working with it is my only reason to vote no. And if it's removed, the people that want it, then they can still go get a supplement and take it. So, you know, that's, again, I'm voting based off strictly what the workers say, and that's why I'll be voting no, to remove it.
Okay. Ruth?
I want to thank Kendall and your staff for taking the time, because I also attended your tour, and I wanted to thank the community for all their input, because they really did participate in this one. It was good to hear from everyone, whether they were for or against it. But the one eye-opening thing for me, I mean, I don't agree with fluoride. I never have. It wasn't another thought in my mind. However, the grant money that is out there for fluoride to be put into water, and then I asked the question, well, do you guys get grant money for chlorine? And it was an automatic no. That's never been offered, so that was pretty telling. So just thank you very much for taking the time to educate us all.
Thank you, Ruth. Cody?
So, you know, kind of throughout this process, we've heard toxic chemical, and, you know, I don't know if that resonates with me so much. I mean, we put chlorine, we put other things in the water to make it, you know, potable and safe to drink. And I haven't heard anybody walk in and say, I want to drink it straight out of the lake. So, you know, that doesn't, I mean, look, you got to make it safe, right? You got to do certain things. The question became, does fluoride make it safe? And I never really heard that connection versus, say, chlorine. You know, then it also kind of resonated with me that, you know, all the area dentists, you know, when they reached out and sent their letters, they said, yeah, you know, we need to keep doing this. It's good for the community. And so I took that into account. And I think ultimately, you know, like Clay said, and Ruth and, you know, Marshall, the thing it comes down to for me is the safety of those guys handling it. And, you know, if it's not causing the water to be safe, like chlorine, you know, do we need to put staff at risk to do that? And so that probably hit home the most for me personally. And so, you know, I know those guys, whether it's sewer treatment, water, I mean, they're doing some jobs a lot of us don't want to do. And, but I think if, you know, if it's something where it's putting them at risk and it's not making the water safer per se, that's probably my concern. So it's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Any other comments? Share my opinions. And Kendall, like everybody else, very appreciative. It was a very educational tour out there. In fact, my comfort level was raised quite high when you showed us how frequently the water's tested, and then the backups and the redundancies. Boy, I don't know how much more you could possibly be doing. Regarding the fluoride, we did hear experts, local dentists, regional dentists, National Association of Dentists, they all say they support the fluoride. When I look at locally, I question the importance of fluoride and the fact that we have 3 water systems serving Branson. 2 of the 3 do not have fluoride in the water. Forsyth and Hollister do not have fluoride in the water. Our elementary school in Branson does not have fluoride in their water. Our high school does not have fluoride in their water. If fluoride was that important, you would think that our school systems would have it, right? So, and I appreciate the fact we went the extra mile. Thank you, Kathy, to include the community. Community overwhelmingly prefers not to, so and in addition to, I know fluoride in its concentrated state is very dangerous, right? I'm not convinced that once it gets into the system and goes through, that it's dangerous, but clearly it's dangerous at your level. So for all of those reasons, I would strongly support repealing this ordinance. So when we go to vote, the vote is to repeal the ordinance that says yes to fluoride. So a yes vote says we do not want fluoride. Everybody get that?
Yes to
Yes to repeal it.
Yes.
So with that, let's vote. All in favor to repeal the ordinance to not have fluoride, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Mr. Mayor, I would also ask for a double read on this one. And in particular, reason why is we only have a certain limited supply left of fluoride in the bulk container. And we do not want to have to order another bulk amount and then have to pay a hazardous disposal fee to get rid of the material.
Let's blow through this one. You want to read that? Oh.
I don't see it on there.
We don't have,
It wasn't.
Mayor, I move to have a second read to remove the fluoride due to, bill, what is it? Number 6387, to save cost, I guess.
We have a motion second. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the board? Marshall?
Kendall, when's the last, will it ever be put in the water again?
So the process is after I receive an official vote from the board, if it's a vote to, again, to appeal it, then what I have to do is send an official letter to the Missouri DNR Public Drinking Water Branch, the engineering division of that branch. They will then take a look at all of the documentation that we've went through the correct notification process. We did take a vote, and they analyze that, and then they give us a response letter. Generally, I did talk to the DNR office up there, and they said it could take 3 to 5 days to get that response. So if once the mayor, if he was to finalize this vote tonight and sign that hopefully this week, then I go through about a 5-day process to get the official response from DNR. That puts me about 2 weeks out, which is roughly how much chemical I have left in our bulk tanks. So I'm trying to time that out where we have minimal disposal.
If this passes, I will be signing it tonight, just so you know. Any other questions, comments? Ralph?
Oh, there you go. Okay. Mr. Mayor and board, like where I appreciate your concern for the health of the employees, and I do share that same sentiment. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the fact that this is a poison that does have significant neurological effects on the health of people. And I just want to make that acknowledgement. I do so with the level of understanding and education and true experience in sitting through symposiums of alternative health and wellness concepts. And it really does. And this decision tonight, where you're putting the mind at ease of the employees, I'm going to say even more importantly, you're putting the mind of the residents of this community at ease, because they will no longer have a concern that their kids could be poisoned by this toxin. So,
Thank you. Any other comments?
I got a quick question, Kendall. If you have more fluoride than, say, the date when this goes into effect, is it cheaper just to continue to put it in until it's gone?
It would be, yes, to continue the fluoridation until we run out of chemical, but otherwise, again, we would just have to pay the cost of having a company come in and dispose of it.
Is that something the board needs to approve, that he just keeps going until he's out?
I mean, how long of it, or how much of a difference is that cost? I mean, it's been in there for 31 years, so if it's another week, is that really gonna,
That's a good question, Chuck.
Yeah, very good question. So we estimate we have roughly enough bulk chemical to make it through to the beginning of December. It
Just a few
depends.
weeks then.
Yeah.
Kendall, there's no scenario where we run out and you are obligated to have to buy more if DNR doesn't approve it by then, or?
We won't tell them.
So when I talked to the representative, again, it was just a formality check. They don't dive into the yes or no and can stop your guys' vote. Your guys' vote is what counts. So they will not, if you guys vote to repeal it, they cannot step in and say, no, you must fluoridate. So I don't think, as long as we have the official vote, then I think we'll be fine.
So that is a good question. Is there, and I'm just trying to weigh the differences here, any idea what it's going to cost to have hazmat come in and remove this?
I do not know.
Yeah.
I apologize for not having that.
So the question is, what's that? Well, it's a dollar amount to remove it. By the same token, our community doesn't want it, but if we're only talking 2 weeks, right?
That's what I'm saying. It's
How does the
been
board feel?
31 years. I don't think.
It's not coming out tonight.
So it will definitely be cheaper to remove this empty as opposed to having some in it.
That is correct.
How much ballpark?
He doesn't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Yeah, good point.
Board comments?
I like the idea if you're just talking 10 days or so to empty it out and you save several $1,000s, and what's the big deal? It's coming out.
I think it's fitting that there wasn't people lined up out the door to comment on this tonight, so I don't know how much harm it could cause to let it run its course and let you do your job.
Okay, well, we have a motion on the floor. This is the second final read.
It's just to read it for the second time. So you call for the vote to read it for the second time, and then we'll do the final read.
Y'all were off topic.
Okay, so we're going to vote to decide whether we're going to read this a second time. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Now, Madam Clerk, would you present this bill again?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill Number 6387, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 1992-0001 and amending Section 90-43 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to introduction of fluoride into public water system.
You guys want to just run this thing for me? Kendall, same report. Audience, any additional questions? Board, any additional questions or comments?
Do we need to amend this to say that he just disposes of it, keeps it in its route?
Holly, what we're doing is we're approving a bill to repeal putting in fluoride.
You're approving the ordinance change that does not require fluoride. Then Mr. Powell has to go through the process with the state to get approval that he proceeded with this appropriately to be able to discontinue it. So you probably don't have the authority to tell him to stop tonight. All you're doing is saying that it's not mandated per the ordinance.
Yeah, okay. Okay, any other questions, comments? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Let's do it.
It's a second and final read. You need a roll call vote, Mayor?
That's exactly how I sound. Fenton.
Yes.
Denham.
Yes.
Cooper.
Yes.
Howden.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
LeBlanc.
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Your Honor, the next item is a public hearing and first reading of Bill Number 6388, an ordinance adopting a budget and a capital program for the city of Branson, Missouri for the fiscal year January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024.
We will now open this public hearing and begin with a staff report from Alex and Ben, please.
Well, before I begin, I just want to give a special recognition to all of the staff who have volunteered time and all of Parks and Rec and the maintenance folks who have decorated City Hall. I think our council chambers look very warm and festive tonight. So thank you to all your help and, of course, around town as well in putting up different decorations.
Way to decorate.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Milton and Board of Aldermen. Tonight I am proud to share with you our bold vision and strategic plan for the year ahead with our proposed 2024 budget. Fiscal year 2023 has been an incredible period of revival and growth for our city. Our administration has championed this board's direction to reform our city government to be more transparent, accountable, and to operate at the speed of business. We have worked hard to empower city staff, re-engage with the business community, cut bureaucratic red tape, and focus on always putting Branson taxpayers first in every decision we make at City Hall. These changes have led to a positive shift in the culture of City Hall and ultimately how we serve our community, residents, and the millions of visitors we are blessed to have each year in Branson. This has led us to a positive foundation tonight to look at to the future and beyond of what our city plans to accomplish. Together, the Board of Aldermen, Mayor, City Administration, and our staff have much to be proud of what will be accomplished in 2023 and even more to be excited about as we look forward together into 2024. The proposed budget set forth for your consideration for first read this evening is the product of countless hours of discussion and active listening, all of which served as the fundamental driver of our budget development process. Our administration took the lead to craft a budget centered on the idea of actively listening to city staff in all city departments to better understand their own unique challenges and needs, and to ultimately develop these key recommendations and priorities to develop a budget truly designed to ensure maximal return on investment to our taxpayers and set our city up for future growth and success. Through the budget development process, as you've seen at our recent budget workshop, we've worked hard to empower all city staff to treat this budget as their own and to make sound, fiscally responsible decisions in their budget requests, all in order to maximize results, achieve cost savings, prioritize key projects, and to deliver the core services to our city's taxpayers. It was our top priority to craft a balanced, fiscally responsible budget that not only addresses the current and longstanding challenges our city faces, but also to make the needed investments to modernize how we operate and make our city as resilient as possible for the future. To accomplish this, we provided clear direction across all city departments to focus their requests on the following: modernizing our city government, strategically invest taxpayer dollars to maximize benefit to our community, foster positive culture change at City Hall, operate at the speed of business, and make it easier to do business in Branson. Although rising inflation and costs have and are expected to continue to increase, we remain more committed than ever to deliver you tonight a balanced, results-driven, and fiscally sound budget for your consideration. We've put forth in our proposal key investments across all city departments, including an emphasis on ensuring the resiliency of our water and sewer systems, critical road improvements, investing in our city's parks, and modernizing our facilities and equipment. With record revenue growth in the tourism fund, we've been able to invest nearly $14 million in tourism fund-supported projects with a total of nearly $52 million in capital projects. This investment means better roads, resilient public infrastructures and utilities, increased public safety, enhanced community parks, and most importantly, a clear vision and a pathway in moving our city forward. This budget not only makes significant investments in key city infrastructure, but also our most valuable asset, our people. Our city staff are truly the driving force behind our city's accomplishments and are the unsung heroes who on a daily basis keep our community safe, improve our quality of life, and promote our city as the best place for development and growth. The amount of work and results we've already produced as a collective city team in 2023, from directors to city staff, will be accelerated as we invest our community's tax dollars in key priorities and initiatives with an enhanced focus on measurable and impactful results in 2024. We've made smart decisions on how to adjust pay, resources, and training to retain, attract, and recruit the best in order to serve our community with quality and effective municipal services. This budget will further empower our talented team to bring our city government and output to a whole new level in 2024 and beyond. We could not be more proud of the progress already made and cannot wait for the success and opportunity 2024 will bring through this budget. Thank you. I'll turn it over to Ben here for his presentation on the proposed budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Out of the 30 years I've been doing that, that's probably one of the most, one of the best overviews of a budget I've ever heard. Thank you, Alex. And I don't say that just because he signs my check.
I just told the mayor, I'm like, man, he's a good talker.
I'm telling you. Yeah, you got to believe what he says, too. Just for some housekeeping tonight, the budget book you've got, or at least that's in the agenda, is just a piece of what is going to be produced for the public. We're trying to make it as simple as possible. Last year, I think we gave you over 200 pages that nobody could decipher. So we figured we're just going to nail it down just a little bit. What you've got in front of you is really the core of the budget that needs to be approved in the second reading here in the next couple of weeks. Until that time, we'll be adding things to it, like department pages, just some summaries for the department pages. We'll go back out for the Governmental Financial Officers Association Award again for, I don't know, it's been, 20, 30 years that we've been getting this award. And that's really for transparency and clarity. We're going to redo this budget a little bit so it's more understandable for the general public when they do get it. Separate this budget, the budget itself, into CIP and budget. So that way you can kind of see what the projects are. You don't have to pull the whole thing down and just look at the projects itself. And we've got a bunch of information, obviously, out on the website for projects.
Excuse me, Ben.
Go ahead.
So what we put on the website, if you would, I fully support putting it into more of an overview, understandable for the
Absolutely.
community. But I'd also, on the web, I'd like to include all the backup data for those.
Absolutely,
So we can be as transparent as possible.
They'll get the line item data, the presentations that we've used, the whole thing will go out there.
Thank you.
Absolutely. There we go. So you can break the budget down into three sections. And some of these slides, you, the government body, has seen, maybe the public hasn't. But if you break the budget down into three cycles, just like your own budget, you get the operating, capital, and debt. Operating being everything that you have to use to actually provide services. Most of this is going to be per people, your biggest resource. Capital is anything that, obviously capital projects, capital equipment, any rolling stock, any equipment that's needed to put that operating, that services in place. And then debt. And debt's a four-letter word, I realize. But what this is really debt that's funded by self-imposed taxes within districts. It's not at large. So this is like Branson Hills and Branson Landing. Sales tax that comes off of it pays for the debt. Just for the public to understand that as well. Excuse me. Before I dive into assumptions, there's a few words that Alex used that came up last year during the budget process that I think need clarity. The city of Branson has very specific policies that you would adhere to when it comes to financial management. And they're great policies you've got. A balanced budget. What is a balanced budget? Some people think it's just revenues minus expenses, you're done, right? Equals zero, you're done. It's not that simple. Revenues have to cover your current operations. That's exactly what you do. You also save money and put it aside for capital projects. You just heard Alex say $52 million in capital projects. That's over a period of time of 18 months, potentially 24 months, depending on the project. That's made up of savings that you guys have set aside for years and grants. That may occur, that may end up showing a negative within the budget. It's only because you've saved those monies up in order to apply them toward those projects. So a balanced budget is essentially the cash you've got on hand, the revenue you collect, minus the expenses. Whatever you've got left over is your fund balance. And what you did last year, and you're going to do it again this year, is have a fund balance that exceeds your current policy. So that's a balanced budget. One of your policies is, just I said, cover your current revenues, cover your current expenses. You've got a policy, a 20% fund balance as a written policy of certain funds, 10% within parks. We'll touch on that here in a minute. The use of this fund balance, anything above that 20% is allocatable toward capital project, for that matter. You can use it in times of need. Sales tax, like 2008, sales tax goes down, COVID. Sales tax takes a dip. You can use that fund balance in order to carry through services that the public won't get a really adverse effect toward. It's one of the biggest pieces of that fund balance use. And finally, any decisions you guys have made in the past 2 years at least, we look out 5 years, just like Alex had said. We'll take anything the departments throw at us and push it out 5 years and see what that does, not just into next year, but in that 5th year. So we balance those decisions based on that. So it's not easy to put a $158 million budget together. You've got certain boundaries we've got to live in, and those are all great fiduciary responsibilities that you guys apply toward this budget. So with that being said, just overall assumptions, one of our bigger assumptions is to be conservative on revenue. 35% of the total revenue within the city comes to sales tax. If you look at just the governmental activities, not the water, sewer, anything you charge your fees to, if you just look at the governmental activities, it's nearly half of that budget is sales tax. And tourism tax for that matter too. Sales tax, we're at 1% right now. Collecting through November, it's around 3.5% year to date. So that's about what your average has been, maybe a little higher, but about average before COVID ever hit. Tourism tax, we're projecting 1.5% or 1.5%, really 1.6% within the next year. And you can see what the other revenue are. makeup. Compensation on the expense side is really going to be your biggest driving factor. 2% COLA here and an optional 3% merit has been budgeted for compensation. Health insurance, we've budgeted 10%. Not to steal Haley's thunder, but she's going to present a medical plan that's 4%. So she beat our estimates, obviously, by far. When it comes to retirement, that's a major part of your benefit package you have to draw employees as well. Non-personnel, all the other non-personnel is really inputs from departments. So if something's growing up because of inflation, the departments tell us, we plug it in and we move forward. When it comes to current projects that'll carry over next year, we have no shortage of big projects. The police building, obviously, is going to be a big one, Fire Station 4, moving forward fast. And then continue to onboard a record number of employees over the time period we've got, and staffing adjustments from 23 into 24, and adjusting as responsible. We'll continue cap our projects from 23 in 24. You'll see a budget amendment that comes through to apply that for 24. Anything that's not spent within capital that we still need to carry over, we'll come back to you just like we did last year and apply that toward 24. But we're looking for your approval to do that. As far as the overall budget is concerned, when you break that operating budget down, you can break it down into the little, on the left-hand pie, the gray area, the dark gray area is general fund, right around 25 million. Special revenue fund, I'll talk about here in a minute, but it's made up of several different buckets of money or checkbooks, if you will, around $43 million. You can see enterprise funds follow up with around 11 million. I mentioned 35% of your revenues comes from sales tax being a more volatile revenue. Obviously, we're going to track that on a regular basis, if not monthly, more regular basis. Sales tax is really broken down into the pie chart you can see on the right-hand side. And it's applied to certain items. Tourism tax we classify as a sales tax just because of the type it is. It's based on consumption, but it's still a very major part of the overall Branson budget. Special revenue funds are really for revenue, for services that are specific with revenues that apply only toward those services. So for instance, convention center, you've got a convention center fund that only deals with convention center. You see the rest of them. Public safety, the police and fire, same thing there. It's the sales tax that go for public safety funds those two services. When you look at the overall expenses, being a service-driven industry, it should look like this. It should be personnel, one of your number one costs. And it's going to be a high number because that's what we do. We're a service-driven industry. Contractual services, anything that needs to support those individuals to provide that service from a contractual standpoint, the expertise they don't have, they've got to apply it toward your services. Then on the far right, the third, I guess the tied with second, is the major capital expenditures. This is really what the public sees. More times than not, you're going to see orange cones out there. Orange cones are not a bad thing. It's a sign of progress. It's a sign of your money being applied toward those capital projects, the capital needs the public has. When it comes to fund balances, when we look at long-term, there's only a few of them that we do look at, but they're mostly operating funds. General fund is your number one. One of the requests that the board made was just an idea of the three different types, if you will, of outlooks into the future. So there's really three different types. We call this one recession. It's an economic term. That's really our low forecast. If revenues come in low, what does that look like? Optimistic is the high. So if we get more than what we're thinking we're going to get, then that green bar, that green column is the high. On a baseline, that's that fluorescent green, if you will. That's what we're saying our current estimates are. So anywhere between optimistic and recession, that's where we're going to land. So in the general fund, you can see that line that goes across the bottom is the 20% fund balance policy. Within each one of these years, that green bar goes above that 20%. So we're balancing this budget based on what our 29 model looks like. And obviously between now and 29, a lot of things can happen. We look at the tourism fund, ditto is 20%. Tourism fund is split obviously between 25% marketing and then 75% capital. And the 75% can only be used for capital, no operation. And same thing here, it's the same color scheme as well. Well in excess of that fund balance policy. And we'll continue to see that 23 level of cash balance will fall over to 24 and 25 as that money gets spent down on those projects because they take a while to build. We'll see that start to dip over the next few years. But even then, it goes out to 2028 before we get to a negative standpoint. This also assumes all of the budget we've got is spent 100%. Staff does a great job at coming in under budget, being able to reapply it or drop it to the fund balance and let us reserve it for other uses down the road. So this assumes everything's spent. It also assumes tourism funds coming in, the revenue coming in is just over 1% into the future. So this is a conservative budget, or a conservative outlook. Transportation's the same way. Transportation technically doesn't have a fund balance policy. We put it in here because it has operating and capital together. And you can see, again, the recession optimistic and baseline. The biggest piece of this drop, again, is this expenditure of capital budget. Anything that's not spent gets rolled over and still stays within that transportation fund for street and infrastructure needs. When it comes to public safety, we break these down into two, the top being fire and the bottom being police. This is, I think, the graph that really sparked that conversation of what does it really look like? What's those three different lines look like? The green column is just touching that fund balance policy that stretches across there. Optimistic cash flow, in this case, pokes its head above, and it's all the way across. So it's fairly flat with fire. We're right at that fund balance policy. There's certain things that the chief and I are going to be talking about, obviously. What does the future look like? What capital needs are coming down the road? So this will be an ongoing conversation. When it comes to police, it's the same conversation, just a different twist on it. Here they've got cash balance, but they've also got obviously a big project they're facing right now. So this is going to provide us some cash flow as we need it for the police building, if not a savings to see if they hit something that we didn't think about, that the cost goes up, we've got a balance to sit there and fall back on. We're well in excess of that fund balance policy, and we're going to keep it there until they get past that building and moved in. When it comes to Parks and Rec, they're doing fantastic. We've got a 10% fund balance there. That line, you can see even in the 2029 model, it goes, that bar, that light green bar goes above that 10% fund balance. Here, the drop between 23 and 24 is really going to be the debt service they're paying back to the city that we lent them for the campground funds and the turf. In that case, anywhere from $60,000 to $80,000 of savings a year by internally financing this. Right now, I want to say interest rates are a record high. They're really not, but they are not small. They're 5.5% to 6%. Otherwise, we'd have to borrow. So we're saving quite a bit of money just by having that borrowing internally. When it comes to the changes between the budget for 23 and 24, this list is fairly comprehensive. I'm not going to go through each one of them. I do want to point out fire and police both have their infrastructure in there. Fire station funding continues in 23. Police building, you're going to see a lot of that expense come through in 24. The campground's in there, and the turf's in there. It's just not in this this slide. What it does do is the departments and the funding source are next to each other. So where does this money come from? This is one of those charts that I'd like to put out there on the website so folks can see what did we do to this budget and where's it coming from. I think that's fairly important to understand. When it comes to capital projects, the CIP for 2024, and this is only 2024, 52.3 million is what Alex had mentioned. Public Works Engineering is going to be your biggest chunk of your pie at roughly 78%. You can see what the other two, and there's a number of slices in there that are minuscule, but your biggest projects are going to be any kind of infrastructure above ground and below ground. When it comes to some of the funding sources, that light green of that 52.3, 30 million of it's coming from the CID sales tax. This is not debt at large. This is only coming as revenue from that CID and applied toward that project. This is the $32 million project. $2.5 million's already been budgeted. 30 million's what's rolling over into 24 for this budget. That is a monumental project. That's for first two segments. And anybody can look back on some of the previous presentations. And I apologize for that white square. You can read that, right? All the words that are in that square. Right below that is the tourism, that's actually the transportation fund. But below that in the darker green is the tourism fund. And typically that tourism fund is the bigger of the two. But with the 76 CID, that's going to make that CID be pretty big. Top 5 projects. You've seen this before, $30 million in Highway 76. Downtown's budgeted at around $5 million. Again, this is a placeholder so we can get started. Hiawatha Heights is in there for 4.2. Involves both above ground and below ground infrastructure. You can see number 4 down there's below ground. And then the force main upgrade. This is just the top 5 projects of the total that's going through for 2024. And some of these other projects you can just see as you flip through the slides that they go on and on and on. And this is just the number for 2024. So Mayor, with that, that is all I've got for my presentation for tonight. I do want to thank the department directors who's done an outstanding job helping us this year. I want to say a special kudos to HR. They've had to deal with this all year long when it comes to people and FTEs. Is something that we asked from them early on, and they rose to the occasion. And this being the first year, next year is going to be even easier. Colby might still be on air. Appreciate all of his work as well. He's got a wife that is going to have twins in a couple months, so I left him at home. But I do want to thank the staff. I'm proud to call this the second budget that Baker Tilly's been part of, and it's probably one of the most fun we do.
Wow, what a presentation. There'll be a test on this later. Hope you're all were taking notes.
They're all experts in it, so don't worry.
Are there any questions, comments from anybody in the audience? Question, comments from the board? Wow, you put everybody to sleep. I'll tell you, and I know you've kept this board abreast throughout the process, so this wasn't anything new to us.
Right.
And we're very appreciative of that. The format that you put this in, kudos, right, for the community. Providing the detail for the transparency is important. I know you and Kathy have had discussions on the what-ifs, right? We have uncertainties with interest rates, uncertainties with the economic in the nation, right? Still maybe a recession, wars going on. There's so much uncertainty. So keeping that fund full for those what-ifs is very important.
Absolutely.
Dick Gass did ask me a question about the number of, when we've done the pay increases for both police and fire, public safety, and then adding on that number of employees, both police and fire, that's getting to be such a large annual number.
Right.
So what he was really questioning is the sustainability of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is absolutely an integral why we put a 5-year forecast together. And we started, I can't say we started that. You've been doing that for a while. Your 5-year forecast has existed the entire way through. All we did was pick it up and apply some of our standards, internal standards to it. And before we ever rolled out any suggestions last year, as far as FTEs are concerned, we plugged everything in and looked at what 2027 at the time looked like. And if it was still positive, then we're good. And I'm saying positive to the degree where sales tax is even declining. Do we have options?
Yep.
Right? And the bigger options we have, obviously, if a recession hits or, God forbid, a depression hits, depending on what economist you listen to, We've got options. One
Yeah.
of the first options is to unplug capital.
That's right.
By unplugging capital, it just means that you can move it down the road.
That's right.
You can exist doing that. You'd have to lay people off. In 2008, as part of several budgets that had to actually do that, unfund vacant positions. And that was police, fire, as well as everybody else. They just unfunded vacant positions and didn't have to let people go. We're very careful with that. And Colby's been part of that process for Kansas City, Missouri, and it wasn't a fun process for him. We bring a deck of people that have done this before in finance director or finance officer shoes. So we're very sensitive to what that looks like.
I will speak for the board and the community. Our comfort level working with you and Baker Tilly is a very, very high, very comfortable. We sleep well at night.
Thank you.
Any questions, comments from the board?
So, Mayor, really quick, we're in the public hearing portion
Oh, yeah.
at this
I
moment.
have to read again?
We actually need to put it on the floor. So
Oh.
if there is nobody to speak during the public hearing, we can close that and then we'll have a motion and second to put it on the floor and then we can continue talking.
Okay, so I will now take public comments. Hearing none, this public hearing is now closed. That I do.
Great,
Pretty
that was
good.
perfect.
Okay, so you've heard, Cody, you've heard the first reading of bill number 6388. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
A motion is second, and with the audience wishing to speak to this, members of the board, hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution adopting the City of Branson legislative priorities for the year 2024.
Before we move on, I just want to remind the board that we are on item number 9 out of 28 items.
You trying to depress us or encourage us?
I'm trying to zip it.
Mayor, can we get a motion and second to get it on the floor really quick?
So move.
Thank you.
All right, I will give my staff
Oh,
report.
we have a,
I'll fill the gap.
okay, we have a motion and a second. We get a staff report from Alex.
Thank you, Mayor.
Not here, that's good.
This past year, we've contracted with, and this coming year as well, with Barget and Associates. They've been an excellent resource for us up in Jefferson City and being able to make sure our voices are heard here on the local level. We've had a number of meetings with them recently and a few key items that they've been able to walk across the finish line for us on some other policy-related stuff. So we're really appreciative of their help. We feel confident in their abilities to help. And what you have before you today is our draft version of our 2024 state legislative priorities. A number of these items have been shopped by staff and developed as well as through consultation with the mayor and board. I'm not going to read through them all for sake of time, but there's a few in particular I know that will be of interest. One is to remove ticket seller loopholes. That's been something that's been championed and been wanted to move across the finish line, so we're hopeful on that. We also want to, of course, support legislation to establish or expand state programs and tax incentives for local development of affordable housing. This issue in particular, we also run into, this was at the suggestion of our police department, is to enhance programs and services for individuals in need of assistance with substance abuse or mental illness. I know that's a common thing they run into on the streets. And of course, increasing infrastructure dollars back to our city. I know in particular with motor fuel taxes, that's based off of per capita and not necessarily on the generation of it. So we want to make sure that's allocated back to our city. Obviously not on a population, but as a bias towards production, not population. So there are a number of items on here, would ask for your support in getting this passed, this resolution. Our next steps would be, once we adopt this resolution, we will connect with not only our state representative, but our state senator, in addition to Barzay and Associates, and attempt to draft up bills and get language drafted. This is just a broader policy document that the Board of Aldermen would adopt to basically provide us direction, and we'll fill in the details with specific legislation, code revisions, and language.
Thank you, Alex.
Yep.
Any questions from the audience? They're starting to yawn. Any questions, comments from the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6389, an ordinance amending Section 2-201 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to removal of members' attendance at meetings.
Kathy or Madam Clerk, do I have the authority to remove this item from the agenda? Holly?
We'd need a motion probably to do that. Postpone. Because it's on the agenda, we need to take some action.
So, and if
Holly
it's
is saying-
postponed, it has to be postponed to a certain date.
Correct.
So, or tabled? Table's a choice? Tabled is a choice where we could then later say when we want to bring it back? They're not listening to me.
She's thinking.
Is the desire to not address it tonight, but address it in the future?
The desire would be not to address it tonight, and if we wanted to address it in the future, we would bring it back up.
You could make a motion to remove this item from the agenda, but we would need a motion and second and then a vote by the board.
That was my first question.
Well, it was a good one. We just had to talk about it.
Okay. I entertain a motion to remove this item from the agenda.
So move.
Second.
We have motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Thank you.
Okay. Your Honor, the next item is a resolution approving the contract with HDR Engineering Incorporated for phase of the water and wastewater master plan and actions related thereto.
Do I have a motion adopting this resolution?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report from Kendall.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. Earlier this year, we sought qualifications from professional engineers to conduct our water and wastewater master plan contract. So HDR Engineering scored the highest out of the evaluation of those qualifications. Utilities negotiated the scope of work and pricing in the amount of $249,290 for Phase 1, project management, water model, sanitary sewer model, and capital improvement projects review, regulatory review, and rate and cost of service model review. Engineering and design services are slated to take 304 days from the notice to proceed to the end of late 2024. This contract is for Phase 1 of a 3-phase master plan. The purpose of this study is to develop a plan or a roadmap to guide the city of Branson through the next 20 years and beyond with respect to proactively addressing its water distribution, wastewater conveyance, and treatment needs. For the purposes of this study, a 20-year planning period, 2024 through 2044, will be the objective, but with a focus on the next 10 years, along with an emphasis on operational, regulatory, and financial drivers. Funds are budgeted in this year's capital budget, and staff recommends approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Anybody in the audience wishing to speak to this matter? Any members of the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Let's take a short 5-minute break, please. Call this meeting back to order. Hillary, we on number 12?
Yes, sir, we are. We need a motion and a second to get it on the floor, is where we're at.
Oh. We have motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Kendall, please.
Yes, one of the three effluent pumps located at Cooper Creek wastewater treatment plant recently failed in our operations. Given the age and condition of the pump, it was determined that the rebuild would not be cost effective. So the Utilities Department requested and received bids for the purchase of a new replacement pump. 4 bids were received, which Fluid Equipment was the lowest bid submitted that meets our current pump specifications. So funds were budgeted for this item in the 2023 capital budget. Staff recommends approval of the contract with Fluid Equipment in an amount not to exceed $69,303 for this 2023 contract period.
Staff recommends approval.
Yes, staff recommends approval.
Any questions, comments from the audience? Questions, comments from the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution approving the contract amendment with Affinity Chemical for wastewater treatment operation chemicals and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
The motion adopting this resolution. We have motion and a second. A staff report from Kendall.
This amendment adds an additional $21,500 to the original contract that was for $119,000 for a total of $140,500 for the year. Staff recommends approval of this contract amendment with Affinity Chemical for the purchase of operational chemicals for our wastewater treatment process. Funds were budgeted for this item. However, it will go over our individual line item, but we did save some dollars with another chemical that we purchased this year, so we're still able to maintain within our operational budget. So,
very nice. Any questions from the audience? Questions from the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill number 6390, an ordinance approving amendment number 1 with Missouri State University for professional services related to the administration of the Community Development Block Grant for the Compton Drive wastewater treatment plant project and actions related thereto.
For the first reading of Bill number 6390, do you have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Second.
We have motion and a second. Staff report from Kendall.
yes, so Missouri State University provides the administration of the grants for the Compton Drive flood wall project. This is a $0 cost extension. It will add 397 days to the contract with an expiration date to be 12/31 of 2024. Staff recommends approval.
Any questions from the audience? Questions, comments from the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kendall.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution accepting the proposal of Sequel Communications pertaining to data communications and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
Do I have a motion approving this, adopting this resolution? We have motion in 2 seconds. We'll get a staff report from Chad. Oh,
Mayor? Over here. Hi, how you doing? Huh?
Chad's here.
I'm here. Members of the board? Sorry, I got confused for a second.
I did too.
Okay. I'm up, though, just to work. Okay, good.
Your turn.
This agreement is with Sequel Communications, or Optimum, otherwise known as Suddenlink. Very confusing. They're always switching their names and getting bought out. But this is for our Metro Ethernet and dedicated internet circuits, so fiber that we utilize. The Metro Ethernet connects our various off-site locations. The dedicated internet is the main internet feeds. We have 2, one that comes into City Hall, one that goes to our campground. We are upgrading our larger sites like City Hall, Fire Station 1, the Recplex, the new police station when it's built, from 1 gig to 10 gig fiber between the sites. We are doubling our bandwidth to the internet from 1 gig to 2 gig, and that's synchronous, both up and down at that speed. That's commercial grade internet. And yeah, it's a great deal for us. Staff recommends approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chad. Is there any questions from the audience? Questions from the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6391, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to sign a contract amendment with Missouri State University extending the contract for professional services related to the administration of the Community Development Block Grant for the Elevate Branson Tiny Homes project.
You've heard the first reading of Bill Number 6391. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
Second.
Motion is second. Staff report.
Hello, Mr. Mayor.
Sheree,
Hello,
it's your
Board.
turn.
Okay, so this is to extend our contract with Missouri State University for professional services they provide us on a federal grant for the Elevate Branson Tiny Homes project. Initially, the grant expired November 30th of 2023. It's for $65,000 and a penny. And that's correct, it's really at $65,000 and a penny. And we want to extend it a year to November 30th, 2024.
Okay. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak to this? Any members of the board? Just a reminder, board, it is 63,000 and a penny.
65.
Or 65. Watch the pennies and lose the thousands.
Yeah.
Let's vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Thank you, Sheree.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6392, an ordinance approving the second addendum with the Southern Missouri Professional Firefighters Local Number 152, affiliated with the International Association of Firefighters, AFL-CIO, for changes in monetary provisions only and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
You've heard the first reading of Bill 6392. Do I have a motion approving this bill? Motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Ted. Hello, Ted.
Mayor, members of the board, city staff, including the fire chief, human resources director, and the city legal counsel, met with representatives from the International Association of Firefighters Local 152 in August and September 2023 in cooperation to reopen contract negotiations for monetary provisions as allowed by the 2022 through 2024 collective bargaining agreement. These negotiations provided for the development of a second addendum to the 2022-2024 CBA focused on language cleanup from the First Amendment. This includes defining the timing for ad pay payments to be effective January 1 and the requirement of evaluation for staff function assignments and defining an effective date of January 1, 2024 for the firefighters to start the new 10-step plan of subsequent annual payments adjustments in the plan to be effective at the time of the scheduled performance evaluation. Staff recommends this amendment. Shopster Jones is in the room as well. He looks a little sleepy because he and his wife, who works in the police department, have a brand new baby girl. It's 3 or 4 days, 5 days old. So, staff recommends. Any questions?
Any questions from the audience? Any questions from the board? Ted, this is, how long ago did we change the step plan down to 12?
It becomes effective this January. It was written last year.
The 12-step plan?
Yes. No, I'm sorry, 10-step plan.
No, 10-step. So has it been a 12-step plan?
It was 21 steps.
And then we
moved to the
changed it to
10-step plan. Effective January of this coming year.
Okay. What was that? Alderman Fenton, anything you want to share with the class? No, my
I'm out.
question was, I knew it was 18, and then we reduced it to a 12-step plan.
10-step plan.
We did, wasn't it previously reduced to 12 steps?
We've been on the 21, and through the agreement, correct me if I'm wrong, we're starting at January 1, 2024 for the 10-step plan.
Was it police that went to 12? Or is it just?
They very well, no, never mind. You're going to get me in trouble. So,
Does anybody else have any questions?
everybody's happy. How about that for a
Got it.
foundation?
Got it. And understand negotiations went well?
Yes.
Yes. So let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Thank you, Ted.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6393, an ordinance amending Appendix A of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to fire protection and prevention fee schedule.
You've heard the first reading of Bill Number 6393. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So move.
We have a motion and a second. Ted, what say you?
Sticking around for a few minutes. The fire department desires to update our fee schedule for operational permits. That's for blasting and fireworks and tents, for example. Those have not been modified since 2018, so it's simply adjusting to remain within trends to cover our expenses. All of those permit fees remain within the Hancock law under the 100% cost recovery, and there's no really big substantial changes, just enough to cover our expenses.
Very nice.
Staff recommends.
Very nice. Anybody in the audience? Any members of the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution approving the contract amendment with Sentinel Emergency Services for the purchase of firefighter turnout gear and actions related thereto.
To have a motion adopting this resolution. Motion is second. Ted?
Amending the contract with Sentinel from $45,000 to $80,000 for the year. That was budgeted, but it came past that $50,000 level. As we're adding more firefighters, that's why I need to come to you today to make that adjustment. So staff recommends that contract amendment within budget again to purchase firefighting gear for the firefighters.
Anyone in the audience have any questions? Any aldermen? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution of the Board of Aldermen of the City of Branson, Missouri, setting forth the facts and reasons for the necessity to amend and increase the city's annual budget for fiscal year 2023.
To have a motion adopting this resolution. Motion is second. Ted?
Staff report covers this item and the next one. It's simply to increase the funding for the operations chief vehicle. That target dollar was missed as costs have come up on vehicles. In agreement with Enterprise, their numbers did not come in totally right up on the amount that they gave us originally. So there was a $10,000 difference that we need to adjust. That's within our budget and within the internal services fund. And Ben says we can do it, so we're good
Well,
to
if
go.
Ben says you can do it.
Yeah, staff recommends approval.
Any questions from the audience? From the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Ayes have it. Ted, thank you very much. Oh, you're up again.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6394, an ordinance amending the adopted 2023 budget for the City of Branson to adjust monies for additional expenses in the Fire Department Internal Service Fund for an increase in the Fire Department capital projects to account for the Fire Department Division Chief of Operations vehicle.
You've heard the first reading of Bill 6394. To have a motion approving this bill. Motion is second. Ted, did,
Same staff report.
and Ben said this was good too?
That's correct.
Any questions from the audience? Questions from the board? Let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Ayes have it. Now, thank you, Ted.
Your Honor, this is a first reading of Bill Number 6395, an ordinance approving the subaward agreement with Missouri Department of Public Safety for flock cameras and authorizing the mayor to execute the documents related thereto.
You've heard the first reading of Bill 6395. To motion approving this bill.
Second.
We'll now hear from EJ. What should it say you, EJ?
Well, first time, so I apologize for the outburst there. Your Honor and members of the board, basically this is a subaward grant from the Missouri Department, or excuse me, the Missouri Public Safety. This is for $21,200 for the purchase of additional flock cameras. This will go toward our LPR project. There are some numbers in here. Next month, Chief Schmidt will be able to give you the rest of this, but for now, it's basically the board authorizing us to receive the $21,200. And due to time constraint, we're asking for a double read.
So EJ,
Yes, sir.
this is your first time.
Yes, sir.
Eric's not here.
No, sir.
You're asking for a double read, and when Eric gets back, he'll give us the information. I just want to make sure I understand your request.
Your Honor, if you're going to do it first, you might as well go for big air.
Tonight's a good night to ask. You couldn't possibly have any questions. You don't know the information.
And we're going to vote on it.
And a double read, apparently. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Hold your horses.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6395 for its final reading so we can learn more.
There was a famous quote, right? We need to pass this so we can understand it. What's her name say? Yeah, so we have a second. We have motion and a second. Anybody regarding to speak to this matter, we're approving to have a second read. Any Alderman questions? If not, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill number 6395, an ordinance approving the subaward agreement with Missouri Department of Public Safety for flock cameras and authorizing the mayor to execute the documents related thereto.
So, you've heard the final reading of Bill number 6395. Do I have a motion approving this bill? Motion second. Anybody wishing to? It doesn't say there's a staff report. Let's try a staff report. Same staff report? Anything, Holly, that you wanted to add?
I just want to clarify that I have that information in the packet in regards to the application. This is the application for the grant funding and that agreement. The flock camera contract will come to you at the next board meeting. So it's not that you're not aware of or that we're not telling you. There are some aspects, obviously, that come under the protection of the Sunshine Law because of security issues.
I did read in the packet, and I'm a huge fan of the flock cameras, right? They have proved their worth in gold, right? So, anybody in the audience have any questions? Any members of the board? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, since this is the second and final read, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Fenton?
Yes.
Denham?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
LeBlanc?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries.
Thank you, EJ. Thank you, Holly.
Thank you.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill number 6396, an ordinance approving the sublease agreement with Lakeshore Rentals LLC for the operation of a commercial boat dock and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
You've heard the first reading of Bill number 6396. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So move.
We have a motion and a second, and Cindy is here to tell us the story.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, so I'm here tonight where Borrow W is selling the business, Scotty's Trout Dock, to Mr. Thibodeau, who's been here all night. I invited him to come. I didn't realize the meeting was going to be, but he's still here. So just to go over the report real quick. So the city of Branson entered into a sublease with Borrow W on, it was about a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago, April 12th, 2022, for the sublease of the commercial trout dock. The city of Branson has sublet Scotty's Trout Dock with the approval of Liberty Utilities, which is the owner of the land, to Borrow W and their predecessors since November 14th, 1985. The request is being submitted by Borrow W to the Board of Aldermen to approve a new sublease with Lakeshore Rentals for the operation of Scotty's Trout Dock. The approval of the item will supersede and replace the current sublease of Scotty's Trout Dock with Borrow W. Due to the need for the property to close, a double read is being requested for this item. I would be happy to answer any questions.
No changes to the lease.
No changes to the lease. The only change is the owners.
And what's your relationship been with Bill?
With
Mr. Turbo?
Good. Yeah, I've gotten to know him. He's actually been improving the property, so that has been really exciting because obviously we have a great relationship with them as far as our proximity to the campground. So if he's improving the property, that's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, and I've seen the improvements down there also.
Yeah.
It's looking good. Does anybody in the audience have any questions, comments? Members of the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6396 for its final reading due to timing.
Do I have a second? So we have a motion and a second. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak to this matter? Any aldermen? So we're going to vote on approving for a second read. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this item?
Your Honor, this is a final reading of Bill number 6396, an ordinance approving the sublease agreement with Lake Shores Rentals LLC for the operation of a commercial boat dock and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
You've heard the final reading of Bill 6396. Do I have a motion approving this bill? We have a motion and a second. Did you get those, Hill?
Yes, sir.
Any in the audience wishing to speak? Members of the board? Hearing none, since this is the second and final read, Madam Clerk, would you please provide a roll call vote?
Fenton.
Yes.
Denham. Yes. Cooper.
Yes.
Howden.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
LeBlanc.
Yes.
The result of the vote, 6-0, motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution approving the contract amendment with Specialty Air Conditioning Services Incorporated for heating and air conditioning maintenance services and actions related thereto.
Do I have a motion adopting this resolution? We have a motion and a second. Staff report from Cindy.
Yeah, we're just asking for a amendment to this contract. So there's been some unforeseen repairs to the boiler here at City Hall. So it's recommended that specialty air contract value be increased from $70,000 to $90,000 in order to make sure funds are adequate to continue operations until the end of the year 2023. So it's really just to provide a buffer. I think we'll probably make it and we'll be fine, but just to make sure we have enough. And that's just assuming everybody wants to have heat till the end of the year. So staff recommends approval of the bill. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
What did Ben say?
Well, I didn't actually talk to Ben, but I talked to Cherie, and she was really
Cherie's
in
good?
favor of it. So there you go.
What do you say in the same neighborhood?
Exactly.
Well, no questions on that. Any other questions from the audience? Questions from the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Cindy.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution to approve a contract with Cigna for City of Branson employee medical, dental, and vision insurance coverages and actions related thereto.
Do I have a motion adopting this resolution? Do I have a second? We have a motion and a second. Now we'll get a staff report from Haley. Hello, Haley.
Hi, good evening. As you know, in 2023, the City of Branson had a major plan design change along with a new carrier and a level-funded plan. However, we had a very heavy utilization this year in our health insurance, which caused our new carrier to give us a renewal of over 14% initially. We did have our broker go out to bid, and they were able to secure a competitive bid from Cigna, which gave us a significant decrease in that rate, right? Bringing us down to about a 1.15, with an additional opportunity to reduce that amount if we bundled with dental. Cigna's dental plan also came in lower than our current plan, being the most competitive rate. And their vision plan was also competitive and included the eye exam, which we hadn't done in the past. The medical insurance plan will continue to be level funded. It does allow for in-network benefits at Cox and Mercy, as we have now. It's similar to the plan that we're currently on, with $0 copays for primary and specialty visits. Urgent care and generic prescriptions are all at 0 copays as well. It also includes a $15,000 wellness benefit that we did not have in the past, and an EAP, and a dedicated 1-800 hotline to help any of our current employees that are in a medical procedure or partway through a procedure or working through any type of treatment plan. It gives them a dedicated person to contact to help them navigate through all of that. So with that, we are asking to move to Cigna. I do have a presentation with some rates, but that's a couple reports down. So we can look at that now, if you want to bring that up. Is that okay? Is it behind me? Thank you. I didn't know it was there. Thanks. So this is everything that I just told you, right? That we, Gravy came back at 14%. They did revise to 10.2, so we went out to bid for other providers. Delta, which is who we're with, came back at a 10% increase proposed rate. This was everything I just told you a second ago, so reducing that rate more and more by making that move to Cigna. These are all those great benefits that I mentioned a second ago. And this is probably the page that everybody really wants to see. So this is what the actual difference in cost for the city and for our employees based on each plan. So we're allocating some of that, most of the cost, of course, comes to the city, and based on the current percentage that we cover, which is the same regardless of what plan you're on. We cover the same dollar amount. This is how it pans out for all parties. Is there any questions? So moving on to dental and vision, as I said, Cigna's dental rates were the most competitive bid, was actually a $30,000 reduction in our current cost. Vision was not the absolute lowest cost option, but that recommendation stays in the favor of Cigna, mostly because of putting everything bundled into one plan, having one card available to people, and also including the eye exam as part of their vision. So it was a very small increase. We also went out to bid for basic life, accidental death and disability, and voluntary group life. Transamerica came in much lower than any other rate at a 40% reduction in cost. So it's about a $20,000 annual savings. That's directly to the city. So those are all of our insurance plans. We did actually, in addition to all of this with American Fidelity, those rates are all covered directly by our employees. That's all for disability insurance. And they provided a 10% reduction in their rates that just directly hits our employees' pockets.
Can I?
Yes, please question.
Is this something that, do you guys shop new deals about every year, or how does this, I mean, I think this is I've been here 3 years. Is this the third change, maybe?
So,
I mean, I understand why you're saving tons of money.
Absolutely.
How does it come up? Do they call and say, hey, we're raising rates, and you're like, well, we're going to go look around, or?
Absolutely. So when Gravy comes back and says 14% increase, I'm like, ooh, too much, right? We can't handle that type of rate increase. So we go out to market and get competitive bids. Now, that's not to say that Cigna doesn't come back next year and does the same thing. Hopefully not. Hopefully we have great low utilization. People are seeing well care and all of that. And we don't have that big rate increase, but it could happen.
Cody?
So as I recall, we had Anthem for years, I think. And then last year, we changed brokers, went with Gravy. Everybody had to re-enroll with a new insurance plan, and we were told no more than a 9% increase. So I guess one of my questions is, what happened with that?
Well, part of that is high utilization on our plan, right? So we're spending more dollars than what we're putting in. We also had a pretty significant amount of people that were, I'm sorry if I cut you off, that were above the, what's the word I'm looking for? The high utilization people, thanks. This is Charles, our broker.
I think I can speak to that. So with the 9% rate cap, the caveat was in there that if we had someone who was estimated to be over 200,000 in claims, one specific user, then we did not get the protection of that 9%. And we do have one specific claimant that they believe will be probably over double that 200,000 next year. So that takes those caps off of that.
Cody, that's in the fine print, right?
Should have read that part, right?
Yeah. Cody's and I are both on HR, and we went through a lot of this in detail. And I think an overview is the increase overall was only the 1.6%. We're talking about $3-point-something million for a policy, right? So that's a lot of money.
Correct.
So we had a slight increase. There were a few positives, a few negatives, but the biggest difference, I mean, I think it's a great plan that was presented, but the biggest difference was, whatever the medical term is, x-rays and that were not What's that called? What's that term?
Advanced imaging? is
Imaging.
not- Yeah.
So imaging is not covered.
Some of it will be, correct? It's kind of, go ahead.
So Mayor, the major change now is advanced imaging will go back to going towards deductible instead of being covered at 100% like it was with Gravy's. That would be MRIs, CT scans, things like that would go towards deductible and co-insurance as opposed to be covered at 100%. Regular imaging such as x-rays, things like that would still be covered at 100%.
Okay. No, yeah, I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware. No, overall, I think you did a great job. I really do. And Cody, you brought up a good point. It's just those little asterisks we have to, right? You don't know what your homeowners covers until you have a claim. Then they tell you what it doesn't cover.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Haley, we're talking about January 1st?
Correct.
Okay. So logistically, like, I don't know if you have to physically have your car, like, so let's say the ambulance comes, picks me up January 1st. Is that gonna be a problem?
Nope.
Okay.
Our plan is to have cards in your hand by then, right? So we'll go through open enrollment the first week of December, have everything keyed in for you, obviously before that happens. And then we're actually, between us, we'll be printing cards for you. So ideally, we have them in your hand by January 1. The other great thing about Cigna is they have an app, so all of your cards will be given to you electronically as well. So not only will you have a physical one, but you'll have it right there in your app. And then all your health record, all of that stuff will go right into that app as well. Find a doctor, all of that great stuff.
Other questions? Y'all good? Anybody in the audience have any questions? So you're asking us to vote on this, so let's vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution approving the agreement for group basic and voluntary life insurance coverages with Transamerica for employee basic life and accidental death and dismemberment, and optional life insurance, and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement and actions related thereto.
Do I have a motion adopting this resolution?
Second.
Motion is second. Haley?
Same staff report as before. This is the one that's a 10% reduction directly to our employees.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience? Questions from the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution to approve the contract with American Fidelity for supplemental insurance, Section 125, provider, and HSA and FSA accounts and actions related thereto.
Do I have a motion adopting this resolution? Motion is second. Haley?
Same report.
Ditto?
Ditto.
Questions from the audience? Questions from the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. We are zooming.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution approving the 2024 Employee Health and Wellness Program.
Do I have a motion adopting this resolution? Motion is second. Ditto?
Nope.
Oh,
This one actually has something. This is our health and wellness program. We've had this in place since 2012. Our employees receive a premium discount towards the health insurance premiums if they decide to participate in this voluntary program offered by the city. The 2023 plan consisted of 2 elements for completion of the program, including completing biometrics through your through your primary care physician and being nicotine-free. We've received very positive feedback with this plan. It obviously helps us in the long term keep our rates down, so we're just asking to continue on.
Anybody in the audience have any questions? Any aldermen? Yes.
Haley, in 2020, we did the 20 and 20 challenge, which was hike 20 miles on our parks. It was kind of neat. I sure enjoyed doing it. I wonder, because, parks is such a value to this board, if within our wellness program, we can include perhaps some hiking things within, as a way to get out on our trails.
Absolutely. We just did a walking challenge that we just completed at the end of October. Did little prizes. So the goal was that people walked 30 minutes for 5 days a week. And if you did, then you were eligible to get a prize and all the great things. So our winner got a new pair of walking shoes. So that was kind of the biggest prize. And there were all little things. Definitely promoted the parks through that, right? So part of that communication that went out was to say like, hey, reminder, we have all these great parks, but absolutely. So our goal is really to get back to some of those things that we didn't have much of a budget for. And fortunately, Cigna's putting some of that there too. So that's absolutely the goal. Yeah.
I think the prize should be a Snickers.
You can have some.
Who won?
Yeah, who won?
Who won?
Someone in finance. Oh my gosh, Kayla in finance won the new shoes, and then our second place was Lynn in clerks. Yes. Yeah. So we went to Tanger and got them a gift certificate so they
Way
could
too
get
much
their
information.
shoes.
Anybody in the audience wishing to ask questions on this? Any members of the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Well, Haley, it looks like you're going to wrap the evening
I
up.
am, we're almost done.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution approving the City of Branson, Missouri 2024 employer and employee medical, dental, vision, and life insurance coverage rates and on contributions to employee health savings accounts.
Do I have a motion adopting this resolution?
So move.
Motion a second. Haley?
So essentially, it was everything that I showed you, the rates that were up on the screen, that's what we're asking for permission for. It's just to move forward with those rates so that we're keeping the same 76.25% that we pay. Nothing's really changing there. We're just asking permission to move forward.
What feedback are you getting from the employees?
Not much other than I want to make sure my doctor's covered, and I'm just walking through that with them individually. But otherwise, there's not too much pushback. A little concern about the moves, like you said, but otherwise they seem okay.
Okay, good. Any questions from anybody in the audience? Charles, do you have any questions? Any questions from the board? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Haley, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Boy. We're down to the report section. Alderman Fenton, any words of wisdom?
I got a couple of things, Michael. Not picking on you, but this just so happens to impact you. I had a couple calls in the last week. There was I guess a pretty significant power outage downtown, and I know we don't necessarily offer that utility, but the reason given when they talked to Liberty was loose wires. And so the question was, does the city have any oversight or follow-up, or, does that involve the city in any way? It seemed like a safety thing, and it's happened twice, pretty significant power outages, and both times I think the reason was given loose wiring. So just a concern raised by a couple of business owners downtown. I don't know if we can do anything or have any way we can impact that or affect that, but just wanted to ask that question. And the second thing is, not going to be super popular, but something that several downtown business owners have asked, if we could at least look at it when it comes to the festivals downtown, so like Plum Nelly Days, as an example. I think overall the festivals, people like them, the tradition of them, they've been around a long time, but I think it's becoming more disruptive to downtown business owners than perhaps we've been led to believe or we are aware of. And so, basically the question has been, could we look at something different? Is there something else we can come up with to still accommodate the festival downtown, but maybe in a less disruptive way for downtown businesses when those festivals are going on? So we've got a bit of time. I think the next one's in the spring, and so the request came in. Could we look at that and maybe come up with some different potential solutions so that it's not so disruptive on some key days, some key business days for those folks? So that's what I've got. Just pass it along.
Kathy, would you look into both of those? Thank you. Ruth?
Just want to wish everybody safe and fun Thanksgiving. Enjoy time with your family and friends. and we'll see you at the next meeting.
Clay?
What a great Veterans Week we had. I know the mayor did a lot of, yeah, wasn't that great? Man. The parade was fantastic. The stealth bomber was incredible. I attended, my wife and I produced a couple of different vet shows, one at Freedom Encounter. That was a lot of fun, big turnout. And of course, our annual veteran show at our theater went off well. And just again, thank you to all the veterans. And it's fun to see everybody come together and all these guys and gals just glow with pride and respect. And it's such an awesome thing. And I'm proud to be a part of it. So go veterans.
Thank you, Clay. Marshall?
I'm excited. I've got my first chamber board meeting tomorrow morning, Mr. Mayor. Look forward to that. I so value conversing with my fellow aldermen as we decide to make the tough decisions for our city. I value that. I value everybody's opinion up here, and I'll continue to consult with Clay on issues that relate to that and issues that relate to the importance of our live music shows and things like that, and just look forward to the great progress that we're making. Final announcement, in about a month, December 13th, Hughes Brothers Theater at 1 p.m., we are doing a special concert, the Faith, Family, and Flag concert. We will have local pastors, family performances, and some local politicians, all supporting those values that make Branson so important. So December 13th, 1 p.m. Thank you.
Very nice. Chuck? Ralph?
Boy, oh boy, buckle your seatbelts.
Kathy?
No, just want to say, yeah, what a great Veterans Week it has been, and I just want to kind of echo kind of what Tony Orlando said. Clay Cooper has really kind of taken the lead with this veterans thing, with his show and everything, and I just want to thank you for doing that. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to those guys, and I think you've done a great job. I think this is kind of we kind of step back and look at this Veterans Week and go, how can we start to do it better, bigger and better? And I think that the creative juices are growing and going, and like for instance with the Wall of Honor. I mean, wow, what a magnificent little production. Ruth and I went together and went and watched that, and it's pretty moving, and it was great to attend that. The other thing I would say, just kind of the public at large. I mean, the candor that we have on this board is simply because, as Marshall said, we do make some hard decisions, and it's an attempt to at sometimes just kind of lighten the intensity of some of the things that we talk about and some of the things that we meet behind this wall right here. And but rest assured that I can tell you that I believe in every single one of these guys and gals, that we are making the most serious, best decisions that we can when it comes to public safety, when it comes to your well-being, when it comes to this community. And I think we're doing an amazing job, and with the leadership that Kathy has and all the directors, you guys said it during our meeting with the budget that the city is moving at breakneck speed and is moving in a direction that it's never moved before, at an efficiency that it's never moved before. And I think it lends itself to all of the leadership here and all the leadership sitting out there, and in every single person on the street that I see mowing lawns, picking up trash, welding on sidewalks, and doing all those things. And, going into Thanksgiving, like, these are the things I think about, because everyone has family. Everyone takes pride in every single thing that you do. And it really shows out in the community. When I just am passing by and see those guys working, I mean, you could definitely tell that they're taking a lot of pride in what they're doing. So thank you guys all. Thank you, Kathy, board. Thank you guys. Have a great Thanksgiving with your families.
Thank you, Ralph. Kathy? Did you say no? Wow. A few comments about Veterans Week. It was a fantastic Veterans Week. In print, there were 25 events. And I know I attended a couple that weren't on that list of 25. A couple of things I'd like us as a community to ponder. what I'd like us to think about for next year, maybe extending Veterans Week. And the reason I ask is I had a few veterans during my visits, and some would say that they barely got in town before the parade and they're going to be here for the next week. Or they were able to come in early, but they had to leave right after. Several said that there was some disappointment that because there were so many events that overlapped, they weren't able to attend the things that they wanted to attend. So the question I'm going to pose to the community is, I've reached out to a theater, it wasn't Clay, so I'll get Clay's opinion later. I want to reach out to some lodging and ask the question, did we as a community, did we experience like a real sharp bell curve where if we extended it out, we could entertain more people, have more opportunities, and fill our town? And one thought would be maybe even if it was 2 weeks and we put the parade right in the middle of it, so we had events before and events after. Just food for thought. I had some veterans that I did a lot of eavesdropping, and so many warm comments. 2 veterans that were sitting behind us at one of our shows that we attended. Actually, it was the Wall of Honor on Sunday. Sunday night, the week beginning Veterans Week, these veterans behind us said, you know, I've been here for 2 days, and I have felt more respect and appreciation in the past 2 days than I have felt in my hometown all year. So I would also like to reach out to our chamber and try to implement some things that are real simple and easy to do. When you see a veteran, it takes just a couple seconds to say thank you for serving. Out of all the veterans I've talked to over the years, and I'll assure you that's been a lot, what they say to me is when they hear that from the people, it makes them feel so good. That means so much to them. It means more to them than all the activities and all the things we have to do, is they truly feel appreciated. The veterans will say, the reason I come to Branson is the people. So at a grassroots level, if we could get that word out, in fact, Ted, what was that program that we had in Branson years ago where, I don't know if it was Legacy, Ozark Mountain Legacy. But go ahead, come on up, Ted.
There's 2 initiatives. One is the Ozark Mountain Legacy, and that was the Faith, Family, Friends, Flag, Future, which our city has narrowed that down a little bit to add fun. But it also has changed to a direction of hope and hospitality.
Hospitality.
So you do those things, and it drives hope in the community. And the hospitality is not just lodging. The hospitality is the theaters. The hospitality is the Veterans Parade. The hospitality is all across. And then the second big initiative is Transformation Ozarks. And those 2 things are making huge impacts in the employment of our citizens. It's exciting.
Thank you. Our visitors over the years, they have told me, I can't tell you, countless times, it's the people in Branson. It's the people, the reason they come here. Simple things. If we could maybe re-implement flashing your headlights, let somebody out in traffic. Some people think that's so cool, right? I mean, it's just so odd. They don't do that in their communities. The simple, the hospitality, the please, the thank you, the offering directions, just the friendliness separates this community. So we have time to work on that for next year. I did have my chance to spend many events with our veterans this week. Very emotional emotionally draining. I'm going to tell you, after several days, several events every day, back to back, I'm telling you, it gets to you. So off of Veterans Week, yesterday I went to they had a ribbon cutting at Legends Theater with Liberty's Utilities. They installed 6 EV charging stations. They installed them right up on the strip, so a lot of the traffic on the strip can see them. The guys from Liberty there tell them, and they got a grant. So they were the first theater to get a grant to put in these stations. I think that's pretty smart. Another reason for somebody to go to your show is they can charge your car for 2 or 3 hours, right? I know our city's been working on trying to get some EV stations. The guys at Liberty out there told me that they are fully supportive of this. It'll have an impact. It'll have an impact, not huge, but it'll have some impact on our visitation. You have an electric vehicle and you live in Iowa and you look at where you can possibly get charged, right? And if there's only a couple choices versus if there was 100 choices, right, it'll affect who was willing to come here. So.
Mr. Mayor. Sorry, I know this is your report.
This is my report.
This is your report. I just wanted to let you know that we have spoken to Tesla. They have plans to bring 16, I think it is, chargers here, superchargers. There's also a poll that Tesla put out for both the world and just the United States. And Branson ranked #1 of any location in the United States for a requested supercharger. And so I think the community in the area and everyone spoke loud and clear and they're listening. So that's in the works. I don't know exactly what that ETA is, but that's coming. So just wanted to let you know.
Thank you. The guys from Liberty shared that with me. In the entire United States, there is more demand, according to Tesla's survey, nationwide, more demand in Branson than any city in the country. Right? Yeah. I know Tesla's doing some things on Branson Hills Parkway, and I know they'll want to expand. Okay, I've rambled long enough. Would you agree with that? Well, there's unanimous consent right there. I appreciate this community. My heart is filled more and more. That Veterans Parade with that stealth bomber flyover, that was just the cat's meow. So, do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting? We have 2 so moves and 1 second. So all in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Thank you very, very much. Meeting's adjourned.